Chapter 409. Chapter 409. I'll go see you. Pinliang scolded himself silently. The reason why he didn't mention it was because it was simply too embarrassing. He, Naipeo, and Xiaofu hadn't been able to beat Linny at all, and they'd been put in such a difficult position. How could he talk about something as embarrassing as that? But now he regretted it. If he'd known this would happen, he'd have warned Xiao Xiao even if it meant embarrassing himself. He was done for now. If Xiao Xiao found out the truth, the consequences would be dire. Boss Linny, you wouldn't do this to us, would you? Pinliang begged, his face bitter. He'd rather get beaten up by Linny. 2 choices. 1. Kneel in the toilet for 10 minutes and leave, or I'll tell Xiao Xiao the truth. Linny said, all right, I'll kneel. Pinliang felt disgusted by kneeling in a toilet full of urine, but compared to telling Xiao Xiao the truth, he'd rather kneel on the ground, or he'd die a horrible death. All right, I'm leaving. Linny wasn't in the mood to deal with these 2 idiots. He just wanted to teach them a lesson, and whether they kneeled or not depended on themselves. Linny said, you can try to fake it, but I might be everywhere. Don't worry, Boss Linny. Pinliang shivered. He'd wanted to wait for Lin Yi to leave before leaving, but Lin Yi's words scared the shit out of him. Come to think of it, Lin Yi really did seem to be everywhere. Every time he was feeling good, he'd be there to mess things up. Pinliang was speechless. Was Lin Yi sent by the heavens to purposely go against him? Can Xiaofu and I take turns kneeling? We'll have someone to keep a lookout. Whatever. 10 minutes per person. As long as it's enough. Lin Yi turned around and left. Kong Xiaobo took advantage of the lunch break to look for Xiao Fan. The knot in Xiao Fan's heart was untied, and she became much more cheerful. Kong Xiaobo's heart seemed to have been set, and his contact with Xiao Fan became more frequent. Lin Yi guessed that he was looking for Xiao Fan to discuss the future of university, so he didn't disturb him. Instead, he called Tang Yun, but he was surprised to know that Tang Yun wasn't at school either. She went to the hospital to take care of her father for lunch. During the day, Mrs. Tang resumed her business at the food street behind the school. The task of bringing lunch to Tang Juqing fell on Tang Yun's shoulders. Mrs. Tang prepared the food at home and brought it to school. She then set up a stall to do business, and Tang Yun brought the food to the hospital. Why didn't you say anything? I'll just send you there. Linny frowned. Tang Yun took the bus to the hospital alone, and it would take up a lot of time. I was afraid that you would be busy, so I didn't want to disturb you. Tang Yun was happy to hear Lin Yi's words. I thought you sent Kong Xiaobo back to find Xiao Fan. Why would I send him back if he's looking for Xiao Fan? He's not my wife. Lin Yi was speechless. Idiot. Tang Yun understood the meaning behind Lin Yi's words. If she was his wife, why would he send her back? What did he mean by sending her to the hospital? Was she his wife? Haha, I'll go pick you up, and I'll check on Uncle Tang's condition. Lin Yi had nothing to do in school, and it would be troublesome when Xiao Xiao came back. It was better to leave now. Okay, I'll wait for you in the ward, Tang Yun said. Tang Yun wanted to reject it at first. Lunchtime was tight, and she didn't want Lin Yi to run around. But he said he wanted to check on her father, so she agreed. See you later. Lin Yi hung up and went to the food street behind the school to get his car. Tang Yun put her phone away happily, but when she turned around, she saw her father smiling at her. Tang Yun felt a little embarrassed. Mr. and Mrs. Tang didn't object to Lin Yi's forceful intervention. Tang Juqing had to thank Lin Yi for the surgery. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, he would still be lying at home. Is it Lin Yi? Tang Juqing asked. Yeah. He said he wanted to see you. Tang Yun knew that Lin Yi had medical skills, but she thought he only knew a little. But after what happened yesterday, Fatty Lai kneeling on the ground and crying, Lu Tiany's flattery towards Lin Yi, and Xue Min's respect towards Lin Yi, Tang Yun was completely shocked. Even when she arrived at the hospital, she was still unable to calm her excitement for a long time. It seemed that she had underestimated Lin Yi. Lin Yi wasn't like what she had imagined, a rich young master who used his family's money to bully others. Lin Yi's arrogance was completely based on his own ability. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's ability, why would he be respected and recognized by so many people? Fatty Lai didn't know the details. Maybe he was hot-headed, but Lu Tiany and Xue Min wouldn't be hot-headed as well, would they? It seemed that Lin Yi's medical skills weren't as simple as a little bit. It was extremely shocking. Tang Yun was proud of Lin Yi, but at the same time, her fragile heart was also a little hesitant. Lin Yi was so outstanding. Was she worthy of him? Would he not want her in the future? Her family didn't have money, and she couldn't help him much. The only thing she could say was that she was a little prettier, but there were so many beautiful girls out there. Why did Lin Yi choose her? Tang Yun didn't want to think about these things. They were still young, and there was still a long way to go before marriage. But seeing how outstanding Lin Yi was, Tang Yun couldn't help but think about these things. Lin Yi prepared to go to the food street behind the school to get his car. Nowadays, the food street vendors had reserved a parking space for Lin Yi every day. Who would dare to mess with this young master? Mrs. Tang's business was booming as well, and no one dared to be jealous of her anymore. Anyone who dared to be jealous would be looking for death. Everyone, including Zhang Biaoqiao, was very polite to Mrs. Tang. Mrs. Tang hadn't come to the stall for a few days, and no one dared to take her spot. When Mrs. Tang came, everyone greeted her warmly and asked why she hadn't come for a few days. Mrs. Tang was flattered, but at the same time, she felt more and more grateful to Lin Yi. Her family was finally doing well. She believed that things would only get better and better in the future. Her business was doing well, and her man had his surgery. She believed that he would be able to stand up soon. Even if he couldn't walk normally, it wouldn't be a problem if he limped a little. He would be able to help her with her work. Mrs. Tang's face was full of smiles as she thought about her bright future. She looked a few years younger, and the male vendors all looked at her in awe. Chapter 410. Welcome. Lin Yi saw that Mrs. Tang had opened her stall in the food street behind the school. He walked over to greet her with a smile. Auntie, business back? It's been a few days. Your Uncle Tang's fine now, so I'm going to open my stall. Mrs. Tang had wanted to talk to Lin Yi a bit, but Lin Yi took out his car keys. You going out? I'm going to the hospital to pick her up and see Uncle Tang. Lin Yi nodded. Then hurry up and go. Be careful on the way. Mrs. Tang was overjoyed to hear that Lin Yi was going to pick up her daughter. Nothing was happier than seeing how well Lin Yi treated her daughter. Right. Have you eaten yet? Not yet. We'll talk about it when we get there. Lin Yi didn't hide it. Just in time. I've got 2 chicken drumsticks here. Eat them first. Don't starve. Mrs. Tang said as she quickly put some seasoning on the drumsticks and handed them to Lin Yi. Lin Yi accepted the drumstick with a smile, nodded to Mrs. Tang, and got in the car to leave. Ling Shan rushed to Songshan's First People's Hospital the moment she received the report. The 6th. It was already the 6th. Ling Shan rubbed her temples, feeling the pressure. It hadn't even been a week, and there were already 6 cases of homeless, beggars, or disabled people getting their kidneys cut off and dumped near the hospital. This wasn't just a simple crime anymore. Ling Shan guessed that it might be the work of a criminal gang. How is it? Ling Shan got out of the police car and saw her subordinate, Lu Wangli, standing in a corner with the police tape. Captain Song, the victim's been sent to the emergency room, and I'm sending people to investigate the scene. This isn't the first crime scene. The victim's left kidney was cut off and dumped here. The time of the crime is estimated to be around 4 in the morning, and the victim was left here around 11 in the afternoon. There's too many cars going in and out of the hospital, and we haven't found any witnesses yet, Wang Li reported with a bitter smile. He knew that Ling Shan was under a lot of pressure. This was the 6th case, and it wasn't a joke. Although the higher-ups didn't specify the time to solve the case, it was only a matter of time. The victims were all beggars, homeless people, and handicapped people, but they were still important to Ling Shan. No matter who they were, Ling Shan had to work hard to solve this case. Bring the mastermind to justice. Ling Shan nodded weakly. How's Lu Buojia? Lu Buojia was the victim of the murder maniac from before. Although Lu Buojia didn't say anything, Ling Shan hadn't stopped investigating him. Finally, she found a rather suspicious clue. At around 6 o'clock on the night Lu Buojia's family was killed, someone called the police from the public phone booth in Lu Buojia's neighborhood. According to the operator who answered the call, there was a man who panicked and said that he had discovered an organ trafficking ring and that it was likely that they had already discovered him. He wanted to seek police protection. He didn't make any sense at the time, and he didn't give his contact number either. The operator could only ask the police to contact the public phone booth, but no one picked up. They sent people to the phone booth, but they didn't find anything out of the ordinary, so they could only retreat. The incident passed just like that, because no one paid much attention to it. However, Lingshan only found this clue when she checked the call records that night. Organ trafficking ring? Could it be related to the 6 kidney cases? Only now did Lingshan feel that Lu Bojia's family had something to do with the kidney case. Lu Bojia still hasn't woken up, and he's on a ventilator every day. The doctor said that once the ventilator is removed, he'll die. Lu Wangli sighed and shook his head with a bitter smile. What he meant was that there was no need to waste any energy. Lingshan frowned, but there was nothing she could do. She knew Lu Bojia's situation, and she always hoped for a miracle to happen. Even if it was just for a moment, it'd be enough to give the police some clues. But the miracle didn't happen. Before Lu Bojia was attacked, he kept quiet every day, as if he was afraid of something. If he got tired of being interrogated, he'd tell Lingshan that his family was already dead, that he was already miserable enough, and that he didn't want to die, so he asked Lingshan to let him go. At that time, Lu Bojia was still in the hospital, so Lingshan wasn't too worried. She thought that after Lu Bojia was discharged, she'd strengthen her psychological attack, and she'd be able to get some information out of him. But something unexpected happened. Beep. Linny pressed on the car horn twice, wondering why this song girl was blocking the entrance of the hospital. Was she even going to let him pass? When the other cars saw Lingshan and Lu Wangli standing in front of the hospital in uniform, as well as the police investigating something, they all took a detour and entered the hospital from the back door. Only Lin Yi dared to press on the horn. What are you honking for? Don't you know how to enter from the back door? Lingshan was a little annoyed. She was thinking about the case in her head when a car horn interrupted her. She couldn't help but frown. You think everyone's like you, getting into the police force through the back door? Lin Yi curled his lips, mocking her. Lingshan only realized now that it was Linny who was pressing on the horn. Her face paled when she heard what he said. What did you say? Who's getting in through the back door? Who knows? Linny curled his lips, move aside. I still have things to do. I don't have time to waste with you. With that, Lin Yi started the car, wanting to enter the hospital. Wait. Lingshan suddenly stood in front of Lin Yi's car, not letting him go. The more impatient Lin Yi was, the more Lingshan didn't want him to get what he wanted. I have something to talk to you about. Lin Yi slammed on the brakes, stopping the car. He was a little speechless. I say, dumb girl, even if your crime-solving rate is low, you don't have to think about suicide, do you? Even if you want me to run you over, you should find a place with no one around, right? You're trying to scam me in front of all your underlings. I won't be able to explain myself even if I run you over. You. Lingshan was furious, gritting her teeth as she glared at Lin Yi. If you call me dumb girl again, or that I got into the police force through the back door, I won't be polite to you anymore. So you've been very polite to me all this time? Lin Yi laughed. Then I'd really like to see what you'll be like. You're welcome to do so. Chapter 411. Did you think I'm a fortune teller? In actuality, the police had heard it, but they'd misunderstood, thinking that Lin Yi was Lingshan's rumored boyfriend. Who would dare talk to Lingshan like that? Lingshan wouldn't let him live, would she? Lin Yi, I need to talk to you about something serious. Lingshan gritted her teeth as she pulled open Lin Yi's passenger door and got in. It didn't matter if Lin Yi was lucky or lucky in the previous cases. He'd solve them anyway. Lingshan just so happened to run into Lin Yi, and since the guy was still so cocky, she'd use him again. Let's see if he can solve another case. Oh, what is it? Lin Yi rolled his eyes. She was begging him to do something right after scolding him? This woman's brain structure was quite something. Don't come to me if it's serious. I'm pressed for time. Lingshan's eyes widened. What did she mean by don't come to him for serious business? Did she have to come to him for anything other than serious business? I'll give you a minute, speak. Lin Yi parked the car in the hospital's parking lot, and someone came to collect the parking fee. Lin Yi pointed at Lingshan. This is our Captain Song. She's here for a case. The person who collected the parking fee knew that there was a case near the hospital, and so he took one look at Lingshan's uniform before sticking a free sticker in front of Lin Yi's car window and leaving. Lin Yi didn't really care about the few kwai parking fee, but the problem was that this old woman had overcharged Lin Yi 5 kwai last time, saying that Linny had parked for 2 hours when Linny had parked for an hour. She'd even pointed at the time on the sticker and showed it to Lin E. Linny knew that the woman must have written the time a little earlier when he parked, but he couldn't be bothered to argue with her. He paid the money and left. But the school only had a 1-hour lunch break, so how could he park for 2 hours? Ling Shan was here this time, and he'd be able to take advantage of her. Ling Shan didn't know what was going on, but seeing how Linny was using her to save 5 kwai on parking fees, she glared at Linny with disdain. There's been a lot of cases of beggars, homeless people, and disabled people getting their kidneys cut off and dumped in front of the hospital. Do you know about that? I think I heard it mentioned in the news. When Linny was driving in the morning, he seemed to have heard it mentioned on the radio, but he didn't pay attention to it. Linny rarely paid attention to things that had nothing to do with him. What do you think? Do you know who the murderer is? Ling Shan asked. Linny looked at Ling Shan oddly. I don't think you should be asking me that. Oh? Ling Shan blinked. Do you think I'm a fortune teller who can predict the future? Only a master can answer your question, Linny shrugged. All right, it's a waste of time talking to you. I'm leaving. Wait. Ling Shan pulled Linny back. Then how did you catch those bank robbers last time? How did I catch them last time? I told you. Linny was getting impatient, but Ling Shan wouldn't let him go if he didn't explain things clearly. He could only patiently explain. I can help you catch criminals, but you have to give me a range. I'll only help you when you're sure. Otherwise, I'll really become a god. Ling Shan thought about it. Linny was right. If he knew everything, then he'd really be a fortune teller. Then I'll look for you when I have something. Ling Shan didn't want to let Linny go. All right. Linny nodded and walked into the hospital. Ling Shan followed Lin Yi to the hospital. She wanted to check on Bojia's condition and asked the doctor if there was any hope for him to wake up. The police officers guarding Bojia's room all stood up and saluted when they saw Ling Shan. Captain Song. Ling Shan waved her hand. Is the doctor here? The doctor is in the office. Captain Song. Follow me? One of the officers said. Ling Shan nodded and followed the officer to the doctor's office. The officer introduced, This is Bojia's main doctor, Dr. Yang. Hello, Dr. Yang. I'm Ling Shan. Ling Shan politely shook hands with the doctor. Dr. Yang, how's Bojia's condition? Is there any chance of him waking up? I've tried my best, but there's no effect. Dr. Yang smiled apologetically. Captain Song, there's nothing else I can do. I can only maintain it for now. So you're saying that there's no chance for him to recover from our hospital? Ling Shan looked at the doctor, disappointed. Is there any hope if we transfer him to another hospital? Our Songshan's first hospital is the best hospital in Songshan. We can only transfer him to another hospital out of town, but I'm afraid the patient can't handle it. Dr. Yang shook his head. So there's really no hope? Ling Shan sighed. This Bojia would have caught the culprit if he'd told them the truth earlier. At that time, that psychopathic murderer might not even bother looking for him anymore. It's not that there's no hope. Dr. Yang hesitated. If you know Professor Guan Xuemin from Songshan's Medical University, you can try acupuncture. But he doesn't do it easily. Professor Guan. Ling Shan, naturally, had heard of this name. He was a famous Eastern doctor in Songshan, known as Miracle Dr. Guan. Huaijuan had a good relationship with him and had been treating him all this time. Ling Shan wouldn't be so sure if it were someone else, but with Huaijuan's help, Professor Guan would definitely be able to make him do it. Ling Shan felt relieved at the thought. Thank you, Dr. Yang. I think I have an idea. Haha, it's nothing. I'm just trying my best. Dr. Yang nodded with a smile. Ling Shan dialed Huaijuan's number after leaving the doctor's office. Song, you're in trouble again? Huaijuan picked up the phone with a smile on his face. He'd been in a good mood lately. Not only had he been promoted, but most importantly, the number of times his injuries had flared up had decreased. It had been half a month now, from once a day to once a day. This was only the first stage of treatment, and the results were already so obvious. Linny said that he'd change his bandages and add acupuncture after a month. Just how powerful would that be? Huaijuan was looking forward to it. Young bro. Ling Shan was a little embarrassed. Huaijuan had hit the nail on the head. I do have something to ask of you. Speak. What is it? Huaijuan had always treated Lingshan as his little sister, and so he took special care of her. Chapter 412. You still need to find Lin Yi. Who is it? Huaijuan asked. Guan Shuimin, Professor Guan. The one who's been treating you. Young bro. Lingshan called Huaijuan bro young in private. It sounded more intimate. Oh, Elder Guan? Huaijuan blinked. If you're looking for him, then don't go looking for him. Go look for Lin Yi. Look for Lin Yi? Lingshan blinked as well. What for? If you look for Elder Guan, he'll recommend Lin Yi to you as well? Huaijuan smiled. Lingshan was still a little puzzled. Why was Huaijuan telling her to look for Lin Yi all the time? Was Lin Yi omnipotent? She'd asked him to help her catch the culprit, but he didn't know about it. Why would he have a solution for Lu Bojia? But Huaijuan must have his reasons for saying that. Lingshan didn't trust Lin Yi that much, but she trusted Huaijuan 100%. With that thought, she dialed up Lin Yi. Lin Yi pushed open Tang Juqing's door and walked in. The father and daughter were talking about something, and Tang Yun immediately shut her mouth when she saw Lin Yi. Her face reddened. You. Why didn't you knock? Tang Juqing was all smiles. Lil Yi, you're here. Come sit. Een, get your classmate some water and peel an apple. No need for that. Lin Yi waved his hand. We don't have much time for lunch. I'll go back with Tang Yun after checking on your injuries. All right, what should I do? Juqing was very happy. His daughter had told him about the miraculous scene yesterday, and he was both satisfied and panicking at the same time. He didn't know if Lin Yi would be interested in his daughter. It's fine, Uncle Tang. You can just lie on your side. Lin Yi walked over with a smile and took out a box of silver needles from his pocket. It was the one he used to perform acupuncture on Lu Zhenhu, and he'd kept it with him ever since. Okay. Tang Juqing quickly cooperated with Lin Yi and turned his body sideways. Lin Yi seemed to be casually poking a needle into Tang Juqing's waist, making Tang Yin jump in fright. She patted her chest in relief when she saw that her father didn't seem to be affected by it. Do you feel anything? Lin Yi asked. No. Tang Juqing shook his head slightly. Lin Yi frowned and began to turn the needle handle in his hand. Then he asked, Do you feel anything now? No. Tang Juqing shook his head again. Lin Yi's expression froze slightly. Juqing didn't see it, but Tang Yun did. She couldn't help but feel nervous, but she didn't dare to ask. She was afraid that her father's happy mood would fall to the bottom again. How do you feel here? Lin Yi changed the position of the needle. A little, numb. Tang Juqing responded this time. My waist feels itchy. It's all right. It's not a big problem. Lin Yi smiled. Is that so? That's good, that's good. Juqing was overjoyed to hear Lin Yi's words. His daughter had told him a lot about how amazing Lin Yi was before Lin Yi came, and now that he saw Lin Yi's amazing acupuncture skills, he was even more impressed. Uncle Tang, forgive me for being blunt. Your left leg is fine, but there's something wrong with your right leg. Lin Yi didn't hide it. He didn't need to hide it anymore. He'd find out after a few days. Only one leg. Isn't that a cripple? Tang Yin said subconsciously, startled. She realized that it wasn't the right thing to say. Her father would be upset if she said that in front of him. Oh, only one leg can move? That's not bad. It's much better than lying on the bed and not being able to do anything. She can even help her mom. Juqing didn't think too much about it. It was only a short moment of shock before he recovered his happiness. It was fine as long as he was stronger than he was now. What was the point of asking so much? It's good that you have this mentality, Uncle Tang. Lin Yi thought that he'd have to comfort Juqing, but he didn't expect him to be so open-minded. It saved him a lot of words. But don't be discouraged, Uncle Tang. I'll give you acupuncture a few times when you're fully recovered. Then, I'll bring the herbs from my hometown. You can get rid of your crutches then. Really? Tang Yin had already accepted reality helplessly, but her eyes widened when she heard that Lin Yi had a way. There's a way? Uncle Tang's situation is similar to Fuan's, so of course there's a way. Lin Yi smiled. So Uncle Tang doesn't have to worry about it. It's just a neurological problem. That's good, that's good. Juqing was overjoyed when he heard this unexpected surprise. He thought that there was no hope, but Lin Yi said that it could be cured. Thank you. Tang Yin pursed her lips. There were many words of gratitude in her heart, but when it came to her mouth, it became the simplest word. Heh, isn't it a piece of cake? Lin Yi smiled. His phone rang. Lin Yi made an apologetic gesture and took out his phone. He looked at the caller ID and didn't want to pick it up. It was Ling Shan. What was this girl doing calling him again? Was there something else? Who's calling? Why aren't you picking it up? Tang Yin looked at Lin Yi curiously. Miss Braindead, Lin Yi said and hung up. Miss Braindead? Tang Yin paused. She didn't know who Lin Yi was talking about. It's Song Ling Shan. You've met her before. I helped her rescue a hostage last time, Lin Yi said. Oh, Officer Song. She must be looking for you for something important, right? Why aren't you picking up? Tang Yin remembered. What if you need her help in the future? Tang Yin had been struggling at the bottom of society for too long. To her, it was good to have a friend, especially a powerful police officer. It would be easier for her to help in the future. Trouble her? It's good enough that she doesn't trouble me. Lin Yi's phone rang again. It was Ling Shan again. Lin Yi had no choice but to pick it up. Hello? Miss Braindead, are you done? What else do you want? Lin Yi and Tang Yin didn't stop even after a few sentences. Naturally, he was angry. Ling Shan didn't know how to pick a time to call. Say. Ling Shan wanted to say, who are you calling Miss Braindead? But she held it back. She needed help from Lin Yi, so she was prepared to be scolded. All right, Miss Braindead wants to talk to you. Chapter 413. Chapter 413. Changing tactics, huh? Speak. What's up? Lin Yi was happy. He didn't really want to pick up the call, but what else could Lin Yi say when Ling Shan admitted that she was Miss Braindead? Ling Shan was overjoyed upon hearing Lin Yi's words. This Lin Yi was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. It seemed like she'd have to change her tactics a little when she asked for help, making it hard for him to reject. The person that the psycho stabbed that day, do you have a way to wake him up? Ling Shan asked. Which one? The one in Guan Xian's room? Lin Yi thought about it. The only psycho he knew was the one from that day. That's right. He's unconscious right now, and he's being kept alive by a ventilator. Do you have a way? Ling Shan asked hopefully. Oh. Lin Yi had actually checked on Bojia's condition that day. It was very serious. Can you do it or not? Ling Shan pressed after seeing Lin Yi's silence. What's in it for you? Lin Yi asked after some thought. Benefits. Ling Shan was about to say nope, but remembered that Lin Yi wasn't part of the police force, and he had no obligation to help her all the time. I can apply for an honorary police officer position for you, and you'll get some salary every month, but not a lot. Not interested. Lin Yi rejected immediately. What kind of benefits was that? He'd probably be forced to work for Ling Shan all day, just for that little bit of salary. Then what do you want? Ling Shan asked. I'll write it down first. I can't think of anything right now. Lin Yi didn't want any benefits right now, but he was just saying it out of convenience. Helping Miss Song was the same as helping Huaijuan, after all. It had to be Huaijuan's doing, after all, and he had to give Huaijuan some face even if he didn't help Ling Shan. Where's the patient? I'll go take a look. He's in the ICU on the 12th floor. You'll see him when you get up. We have people at the door. Ling Shan was still wondering what benefits Lin Yi would ask for, not expecting Lin Yi to agree so easily. Okay, wait for me. Lin Yi hung up and turned to Tang Yun. Are you coming with me? Go and do your work. I won't get involved. I'll accompany Dad down there. Tang Yin hesitated. Ling Shan was very pretty, and it gave her a sense of urgency, but from the looks of things, Lin Yi didn't like Ling Shan at all. He wouldn't be calling her an idiot otherwise. Moreover, Lin Yi wasn't there to play. He was busy with official business. Okay, I'll find you later. Let's go back to school together. Lin Yi nodded and walked out of the ward. Lin Yi took the elevator to the 12th floor. Sure enough, as soon as he stepped out of the elevator, he saw two police officers sitting at the door of a ward. Lin Yi quickly walked over. Mr. Lin Yi, right? Captain Song is waiting for you inside. The police officers at the door nodded to Lin Yi, indicating that he could go in. Lin Yi walked in and saw a large ventilator with a person lying under it. It was Lu Bojia from the other day. He He was very thin and haggard. Lingshan was standing beside the ventilator, not knowing what to do. She quickly asked when she saw Linny come in. "Linny, do you have any ideas?" Linny didn't say anything. He walked over and checked on Bojia's condition. After a while, he slowly shook his head and said, "It's very troublesome." Troublesome. But Linny didn't say it was impossible. It meant that he had a way. Lingshan's nervous heart relaxed. "You have a way?" "Yes, but I don't think it's worth it. It's a waste of energy." Lin Yi shook his head. Lingshan gritted her teeth. She didn't think that Linny was putting on airs. Dr. Yang had already explained the situation. Even the hospital couldn't do anything. If Linny had a way, it wouldn't be easy. Miss Braindead, I'm begging you. Okay?" Lingshan clenched her teeth as she spat out the words. She knew that Lin Yi could be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. Although the nickname Miss Braindead made her want to die and drag Linny down with her, she had to endure it for the sake of Lin Yi's work. She swore to herself that if Linny were to fall into her hands one day, she wouldn't let him get away scot-free. I'll try." Linny didn't know what to say. He couldn't reject Lingshan's request. "But my medical skills aren't good enough. I can only wake him up, but I can't guarantee how long he'll live. There are too many problems in his body." "So you're saying that you still have a chance to heal him and not just wake him up?" Lingshan understood what Linny meant. "I can't, but my old man is close." Linny said, "But my old man won't come. If you want him to die, I'll wake him up now. If you want him to live, don't touch him for now. Let him lie down first." Lingshan was in a difficult position. She wanted to find clues as soon as possible, but if Linny had a chance to heal Bojia, she would rather not have this clue. She didn't have a way before. Getting Bojia to say a few words was already good enough. But now that Linny had a way, she couldn't sacrifice an innocent person for nothing. "Call me when you're done. I'm going back." Linny knew what Lingshan was thinking. He smiled. "Lunch break time is limited. Don't think about it. Wait until you have a way to heal him." Lingshan shook her head. "Oh?" Linny was surprised. He didn't expect Lingshan to be this decisive. He had underestimated her. Her sense of justice and responsibility was quite strong. "All right, I'll try my best. I'll give you an answer as soon as possible." This time, it was Lingshan's turn to be surprised. She didn't expect Linny to say something like that. Every time she looked for Linny, he'd always give her all sorts of excuses. But this time, he said that he'd try his best, and as soon as possible. Lingshan couldn't get used to this. Wasn't this a little too fast? Could it be that her soft attitude brought about the effect? It had to be. As expected, he was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. "Then Miss Braindead will wait for your call." Lingshan felt that it was very awkward to say it out, but fortunately, her men were outside. No one could see them. She could just treat it as a whisper to Linny. As long as the kid was willing to help, it didn't matter if she was a little braindead. Who asked him to be stronger than her? Linny acted as if he didn't know Lingshan at all. She'd called him Miss Braindead 3 times already, and was willing to call herself Miss Braindead for help? Chapter 414. A strange analysis report. Lingshan finally exploded as she watched Linny leave. She clenched her teeth and swung her fist at the wall. "Linny, I'll punch you to death. You bastard. How dare you give me a nickname? Miss Braindead. Miss Braindead. You're Miss Braindead." Pung, 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 pung. Lingshan threw 5 punches in one go, only stopping when her hands started hurting. She stormed out of the room, her 2 lackeys sitting up straight. They'd heard the commotion in the room, too, and knew that Lingshan was pissed. They didn't want to mess with her right now. Fatty Lai couldn't believe his eyes. His old man was awake. Not only was he awake, he could talk and eat. "Dad, are you all right? Are you all right?" Fatty Lai was so excited that he almost fainted. "I'll go get the doctor. Wait for me." Fatty Lai dashed out of the room and shouted, "Doctor? Where's the doctor? Someone come." "What's wrong? What's wrong?" The doctor thought that something had happened in the room and rushed over. But when he entered the room, he realized that Fatty Lai's father was awake. "Doctor, please check on my dad. Is he all right?" What Fatty Lai wanted to do the most right now was run to Lin Yi's side and kowtow a couple of times. What a benefactor. The doctor frantically called for a nurse to do a checkup on the old man, but the report surprised him even more. All the indicators were clearly much better than before, and while the uremia wasn't completely cured, it was getting better. How is this possible? How is this possible? The doctor stared at the report in his hands, dumbfounded. He just told Chang Tian yesterday that there was nothing he could do, so why was Elder Lai awake today? This didn't make any sense. Right. The doctor suddenly remembered something. This Lai Changyi had gotten some pill of life extension and toxin cleansing from God knows where, and wanted to give it to Elder Lai. Could it be that the pill was working? Other than that, he couldn't think of any other possibilities. At that thought, the doctor hurriedly asked, Mr. Lai, did you give your father that pill of life extension and toxin cleansing? I've taken it. How was it? It's effective, right? Heh, I told you it would work. Fatty Lai was grinning from ear to ear as he looked at the report. Not even half of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing had such miraculous effects. If he could get his hands on a whole pill, wouldn't his father's illness be under control immediately? Fatty Lai, on the other hand, didn't expect his father to fully recover. As long as the disease was under control, it would be fine. The old man was getting on in years, and it was his only wish to live as long as he could. It's really effective. The doctor wiped the sweat on his forehead. I've never seen such a miraculous effect. Mr. Lai, forgive me for being blunt, but you should bring the old man to that expert. I can't do anything about it. The doctor had received a lot of red packets from the Lai brothers, so he told the truth and pointed out the right path for Fatty Lai. Sigh. Fatty Lai's face turned sour at the doctor's words. Would the expert even care about me? The doctor shook his head, thinking that it was true. If the expert really was the expert, he wouldn't care about a crybaby like Fatty Lai, crying all the time. He was an adult. Shouldn't he be ashamed? Then let him rest in the hospital for now. I'll try my best. The doctor said. Oh, right. You have to keep this a secret. Don't tell anyone. Fatty Lai suddenly thought of something and reminded her. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. The doctor nodded. Am I an idiot? Not only will I offend you, but it won't do me any good either. If I keep quiet, the outside world will think that I cured old Lai, and my reputation will increase. Lai Changtian's face was very ugly as he rushed to the hospital. His father was really awake, and he seemed to be in good spirits. He didn't think that his brother would be able to wake the old man up by a fluke. But this meant that the agreement Lai Changyi had written was no longer effect. The old man was still alive, and Lai Changyi had no right to decide the ownership of the electronics park. Chang Tian could only give his best wishes and congratulations to the old man, but in his heart, he was thinking of ways to trick the old man into making the agreement he signed with Lai Changyi a reality. Donghai, House Kang's villa. Dr. Kong looked at the analysis report in his hands with a strange expression on his face. If it weren't for the fact that this report was personally verified by Kong Ming Ming himself, Dr. Kong would have thought that he was being played. Dog poop? The main ingredient of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is dog poop? Are you sure you're not mistaken? Dr. Kong stared at the report, his face full of disbelief. No. Xiaolong shook his head. Grandpa, I've had people analyze it many times, and the conclusion is that it's most similar to dog poop. Dog poop? Could it be that dog poop has something to do with life extension and toxin cleansing? Dr. Kong couldn't understand how dog poop could have such an effect. But Grandpa, I really do feel great. After Kong Xiaoming got what he wanted, he didn't pretend to be sick anymore. The next day, he appeared in the living room of House Kong, full of energy and vigor. Grandpa, I feel much better. I won't lie to you guys, I used to have a weak kidney, but now, hee. Kong Ming Ming didn't continue, but everyone understood what he meant. He was the most useless playboy in the family, always hanging around with women. No one doubted his words. Xiaoming, you really feel great? Dr. Kong found this very strange. Dog poop could be used to treat illnesses? Yeah, Grandpa, I really feel great right now. Kong Ming Ming nodded, as if he was showing off a treasure. Grandpa, actually, I think that the main ingredient of this medicine is dog poop. It's not that surprising. Oh? What do you mean? Dr. Kang's interest was piqued. If it were in the past, he wouldn't have paid any attention to this grandson. He was just a playboy, using his family's name to eat and wait for his death. But ever since Kong Ming Ming used his own body to test the medicine, Dr. Kong started to value Kong Ming more. He wanted to hear what he had to say now that he had something to say. Chapter 415. Kong Family Alliance by Marriage Slap. Miracle Dr. Kong slapped his thigh as he stood up excitedly. You've woken me up from my daydream. You've really woken me up. Xiaoming, you're right. If urine can cure diseases, why can't poop? Yeah, Grandpa. Don't people say that dog poop stinks? That proves that dog poop stinks, and no one has ever eaten dog poop before because it stinks too much. Kong Ming Ming said. But it's possible that someone accidentally discovered the secret of dog poop and created this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. In fact, it's possible that this thing is made up of dog poop. Grandpa, Xiaoming's right. Xiaolong couldn't let Kong Ming Ming steal all the limelight. He used to be the best of the younger generation in the house, so he quickly interjected. Grandpa, I think so too. Look at this so-called dog treasure. It's just a stone in a dog's stomach. If it were any other animal, the stone would be trash, but it's a treasure in a dog's body. So I don't think dog poop is a bad thing. It's probably the main ingredient of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Yeah, Xiaolong's right. Dr. Kong nodded. I didn't dote on you guys for nothing. With you two brothers in this generation, House Kong will be even more glorious. I'm glad. If this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is made, you two will be the biggest contributors. You two will get the majority of the shares. Thank you, Grandpa. Xiaolong and Kong Ming Ming were very happy. They'd gotten the shares of the new medicine with just a few words. It was too easy. How about this, Xiaolong? Get someone to collect some dog poop, and we'll do an experiment. Dr. Kong ordered. Make the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing as soon as possible. House Kang's status will rise even higher this way. The golden creation medicine from before will be a piece of cake. No problem, Grandpa. I'll get someone to do this right away and get it done as soon as possible. Xiaolong nodded. Yes, very good. Miracle Dr. Kong said. There's another important thing I need to talk about. It's about your marriage, Xiaolong. My marriage? What do you mean? Xiaolong blinked. I don't have a girlfriend yet. What marriage? Xiaolong was different from Xiaoming. Xiaoming was a playboy, changing girlfriends more than he ate. Xiaolong, on the other hand, was different. As the rising star of the third generation of House Kong, he had too much hope placed on him from a young age. Although he wanted to date and find a girlfriend, he was a man of great self-control and ambition. He gave up on love without hesitation, even if there was a girl he liked. He'd off. He Kong. Konged on. He Li up. He of Ming Shan. He didn't all. This was the main reason why Dr. Kong thought so highly of him. He didn't understand why Dr. Kong brought up his marriage. Haha, it doesn't matter if you have a girlfriend or not. I've arranged a marriage for you, and the girl is very pretty. It's a big family. What do you think, Xiaolong? Dr. Kong asked. Isn't this a little too fast? Grandpa, I haven't finished my doctorate yet. Xiaolong was startled. It was too sudden. It's not fast. You're already a doctorate. Many people bring their kids with them. I even had a second uncle when I was your age. Dr. Kong waved his hand. Xiaolong, you have to understand that this marriage is very important to our Kang's reputation in the upper class. Even though we've made a name for ourselves with golden creation, we're still a merchant family with a miracle formula. I may be called Dr. Kong, but that's just out of respect. I'm not a miracle doctor at all. So if House Kong wants to rise to the ranks of the big families, other than working hard ourselves, we have to connect with other families through marriage. Of course, those big families don't care about us. They don't want to connect with us through marriage, but some of the poor families are more than happy to do it. But no matter how poor they are, they were once big families. They have a certain level of status and prestige. As long as we're together, House Kong will rise. It's all up to you, Grandpa. Xiaolong nodded after some hesitation. If that was the case, then his marriage with the other side would be the key to House Kang's success. He'd become a hero, and his position in House Kong would rise as well. This was a good thing for him. Xiaolong only hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Grandpa, which family? Yinjing Xiao family, Dr. Kong said. The Xiao family's elder Xiao was a little muddle-headed in his later years. He signed a couple of fraudulent contracts, pretty much giving away most of the Xiao family's assets. The Xiao family's brothers were in a mess, and in order to protect the Xiao family's position, the only option was to connect through marriage. There was one more thing Dr. Kong didn't say. It was that House Kong wanted to rise to the ranks of the big families, and the two families would be a perfect match. All right, I have no objections. Xiaolong nodded. All right, since you've agreed, I've brought the picture of the girl. Have a look. If it's okay, I'll send the betrothal gift, Dr. Kong said. We'll find a date to hold the engagement ceremony and confirm it. Our family's reputation will rise as well. Even though the Xiao family doesn't have much money now, they still have their connections in the business world. House Kang's medical group can use their connections to expand on a large scale. All right, Grandpa, I'll arrange it. Xiaolong nodded. It didn't matter if the girl was pretty or not. The important thing was that Xiaolong's position in House Kong would be confirmed through this marriage. If she wasn't pretty, then he'd accept it. If she was pretty, then he'd just take it. This is the girl's picture. If you like it, you can go talk to her yourself. You young people should be able to get along well, Dr. Kong said as he passed a picture to Xiaolong. Even though she's not from the same family, the girl's father isn't someone to be underestimated. He runs a medical chain company in Songshan, and he'll be our helper. Xiaolong was overjoyed. He didn't think that the girl's family would be so good. His position in House Kong would be even greater. Xiaolong took the picture and glanced at it casually, but his eyes couldn't move away. Chapter 416. About Linny, bro. I'll give you some advice. Kong Ming went over curiously, wanting to see what his future sister-in-law looked like. One look and he realized that his bro had really hit the jackpot. Why wasn't he the one getting married? How unlucky. Bro, you've hit the jackpot. I've seen countless girls in my life, and this is one of the best. Out of all the girls I know, only that bitch Tang Yun can compare to her. The worst part is that Kong Xiaobo got her before I even got her. Everyone in the family knew what kind of person Kong Ming was, so they just laughed it off. Xiaolong, on the other hand, was really happy. Even his playboy brother said it was good. It had to be a goddess. Don't worry, we'll find you a good one in the future, Xiaolong said to Kong Ming. But you're better than me. I'll only have one in my life. How many do you have already? Haha, of course. Kong Ming didn't feel ashamed at all. Instead, he felt proud. But Kong Ming's actions were nothing compared to his contributions to the family. Dr. Kong and the others didn't think that Kong Ming was sick in the head. It'd be a waste if one wasn't a playboy. Xiaolong was a good student, and Kong Ming was a playboy. They weren't lonely in the family. Xiao rushed into a clothing store with her hair dripping wet under everyone's weird gazes. She bought a new set from the inside out before driving to the nearest hotel, taking a hot shower and changing into a new set of clothes before heading back to school angrily. She didn't want to let Linny go, but she didn't know Linny's trump card. Linny looked like he was a good fighter, and his reflexes were super fast, too. She'd been discovered the moment she snuck into the washroom. No wonder Pinliang and Zhou Ruoming weren't his match. This was evident from the fact that he was Meng Yao's bodyguard. Peng Zhan wouldn't have hired him if he wasn't strong enough. It seemed that he had to thoroughly understand Linny before he made his next move. Otherwise, it was very likely that he would suffer a great loss again. With that thought, Xiao decided to ask Pinliang and Zhou Ruoming about Linny. When Xiao got back to school, Pinliang and Xiaofu had just finished changing as well. They'd been kneeling in the toilet for a long time, and their pants were quite dirty. Lil sis Xiao. Pinliang didn't want to, but he couldn't pretend that he didn't see her at the school gates. Otherwise, things would get worse. You two, get over here. Xiao pointed at Pinliang and said coldly. Pinliang and Xiaofu's hearts skipped a beat. Could it be that Lin Yi didn't keep his promise and told Xiao about what happened? The two were scared out of their wits. They carefully walked up to Xiao and smiled. Lil Sis Xiao Xiao, what's wrong? It's not our fault. We didn't know that Linny would turn around all of a sudden. That's not what I wanted to talk to you about. Xiao Xiao frowned, a little unhappy. She didn't even mention it. Why did you bring it up? What was the meaning of this? Were you trying to humiliate her? Then Lil Sis Xiao Xiao is looking for us. Pinliang let out a breath of relief after hearing Xiao Xiao's words, but he was also a little fearful. It seemed like he'd been an idiot. How could he just bring up something as embarrassing as Xiao Xiao's? Of course she wouldn't be happy about it. Get Zhou Ruoming here, too. I have something to talk to you guys about. Xiao Xiao ordered. Okay. I'll go get him now. Xiaofu volunteered. He was Pinliang's henchman. How could he let Pinliang run errands for him? Zhou Ruoming was actually quite easy to find. He played basketball almost every day, and Xiaofu could spot him easily. Mingbro, over here. Xiaofu called out to Zhou Ruoming. What's up? Zhou Ruoming was about to go in for a layup when Xiaofu called out to him. He jumped up in fright and let go of the basketball, displeased. Can't you wait until I'm done? Lil Sis Xiao Xiao's looking for you, Xiaofu said. Fuck, why didn't you say so earlier? Zhou Ruoming jogged over, a shocked expression on his face. You two idiots. You pissed off Lil Sis Xiao Xiao this morning, and now you're dragging me down with you? You're so mean. Zhou Ruoming knew a thing or two about what happened to Xiao Xiao this morning. Pinliang didn't go into detail, but it was obvious that Xiao Xiao was taken advantage of, and so Zhou Ruoming was quite afraid to go see her. It's fine. Lil Sis Xiao Xiao didn't mention that, so don't bring it up. I think she's just asking us about Lin Yi. You'll know when you get here, Xiaofu said. Let's go. Don't let Lil Sis Xiao Xiao wait too long. All right, I'll go now. Zhou Ruoming nodded and left the school gates with Xiaofu. Xiao Xiao brought them to a coffee shop beside the school and got straight to the point. Why don't you guys tell me about Lin Yi? I'm sure you guys know about how I got taken advantage of by Lin Yi today. This Lin Yi guy doesn't look like a normal person. Zhou Ruoming looked at Pinliang and Xiaofu. Logically speaking, what happened to Lin Yi was a nightmare and a humiliation to them. Everyone had been dealt with by Lin Yi in different ways, and it was a little embarrassing to talk about it now. What? You don't want to talk about it? Xiao Xiao frowned. And no. Pinliang and Xiao Xiao were in the same class, and they'd seen each other all the time. He didn't want to piss her off. I'll talk first. When Lin Yi first transferred here, he kicked me in the face. I wasn't happy, so I wanted to get back at him. And so, Pinliang started talking about his grudge with Lin Yi, all the way until Heibao Bro came to school and got his face stepped on by Lin Yi. So you're saying that even gangsters aren't his match? Xiao Xiao was a little surprised. She'd already guessed that Lin Yi wasn't weak, from how he pushed the cart with one arm, but she didn't expect Lin Yi to be this strong. Even the gangsters with guns were beaten to the point of looking for their teeth on the ground. Of course, Pinliang didn't tell her about Heibao Bro breaking through to Golden Class. She'd be even more shocked if Heibao Bro still wasn't a match for Lin Yi. Chapter 417. Chapter 417, Car Accident. Xiao Xiao was speechless. She'd wanted him to have some conflict with Lin Yi today, but now it seemed like he didn't dare do anything to Lin Yi at all. It's a little embarrassing, but it's the truth. In this school, no, even with the gangsters in society, I'm sure no one can do anything to that Lin Yi kid. He's not even scared of guns. Pinliang tried to explain himself. Since you're not afraid of embarrassing yourself, then I'll tell you. Zhou Ruoming sighed as he started complaining. I got slapped by Lin Yi in front of so many students, and even the dean. What could I do? I couldn't beat him. He's so arrogant. Xiao Xiao was getting dizzy. It seemed like her investigation wasn't enough. Lin Yi was so strong, and she still had to fight him head-on? That was impossible. It seemed that fighting head-on wasn't going to work. She was a pretty fierce girl, but Lin Yi was even fiercer. Xiao Xiao didn't have the confidence to do anything to Lin Yi after hearing what Pinliang and Zhou Ruoming said. This Lin Yi doesn't have any weaknesses? Xiao Xiao frowned. Do you guys know if Lin Yi has a weakness? Weakness? Zhou Ruoming said, troubled. Probably Tang Yun. If you touch her. Hehe, Lil sis Xiao Xiao, why don't you do some research and get Tang Yun for me? I'll do it for you. Zhou Ruoming still didn't want to give up on Tang Yun. He didn't get to fulfill his wish last time, since Linny ruined it, but he still hoped that he could have Tang Yun for himself. He didn't believe that Linny would kill him. What was done, and Linny wouldn't be able to do anything. Tang Yun would just follow him obediently, and Lin Yi probably wouldn't make things difficult for him for Tang Yun's sake. No. Xiao Xiao rejected him flatly. She wanted to cause trouble for Lin Yi, but she wanted Lin Yi to give in and teach her how to fight and drive. If she really did anything to Tang Yun, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to teach her anything, and the two would become mortal enemies. Then I have no other choice. Zhou Ruoming shook his head. I don't have any good ideas myself. Pinliang didn't know what Lin Yi's weakness was. He would have done it himself if he knew. Xiao Xiao cursed the two of them inwardly. They were useless, a waste of time. On the way back to school with Tang Yun, they were on the fast lane on the left. He didn't expect to bump into someone who was going against the traffic when they got on the viaduct. Lin Yi frowned. There were cars on the left and right, and changing lanes was impossible. Even if he didn't think about himself, he had to think about Tang Yun. Lin Yi turned on the high beam, wanting the car to go back to the right lane, but what Lin Yi didn't expect was that the car didn't slow down and go back. Instead, it copied Lin Yi and flashed the high beam, and it was a modified hernia lamp. If it weren't for Lin Yi's good eyesight, he would have been blinded. Lin Yi had no other choice. If this continued, the two cars would crash into each other. Tang Yun was already screaming in fear. Lin Yi suddenly turned the steering wheel to the right and pulled the handbrake. The van swerved in a beautiful arc, and the back of the van smashed into the front of the car. Although Lin Yi had carefully controlled the angle and force, there was still a loud sound. Tang Yun, on the other hand, was fine. Zhou Tianyi had just gotten a brand new BMW a few days ago, and his son had given him a custom license plate. It was a very cool license plate. SB. At first, Tianyi wanted a license plate that was all 8s. He thought that Zhou Ruoguang's license plate didn't have any 8s or SIXS in it, and it was all in Western languages. But Zhou Ruoguang said that 888 and 00544 weren't popular anymore. Those were outdated. License plates nowadays were about individuality. Only with a personalized license plate would it be cool when you go out. The 888 and 666 on the street didn't have as many people turning their heads to look at them. The only ones that did were the SB. Tianyi didn't think much about it, since his son said that the license plate was cool and unique. Then he'd use it. What he didn't expect was that it really was cool. Almost 100% of the people on the street turned their heads to look at him, and some even took out their phones to take pictures of him enviously. This satisfied Tianyi's vanity. There were even 2 drivers on the street who got too excited when they saw his license plate and crashed into each other. This gave Tianyi an indescribable sense of honor. Even when he was driving on the wrong side of the road, many cars would make way for him. No one dared to fight him head-on. But today, some idiot had crashed his brand new car. Tianyi panicked, jumping out of the car to pull on Lin Yi's door. Get the fuck out of the car. Are you blind or what? Do you even know how to drive? I have such a cool license plate. How dare you crash it? Lin Yi paused. He didn't expect someone to be this cocky, even when driving on the wrong side of the road. He couldn't help but look at the license plate and almost burst out laughing when he saw it. What a unique license plate. What are you laughing at? There's no use laughing, you little bastard. You ruined my new car. Pay me 100,000 kuai or you're not leaving. Tianyi was having a great time, planning on taking his car out for a walk whenever he had nothing better to do, but Lin Yi crashed his car into it. How many days would it be before he could show off his cool license plate? You crashed my car on the wrong side of the road? And you're asking me for money? Lin Yi was speechless as he looked at the familiar-looking man in front of him. Where had he seen him before? Lin Yi's memory wasn't bad, but it wasn't worth remembering small fries and small fries. He couldn't remember who this small fry was. How much is a bun like you worth? Don't think I don't know that you crashed my car on purpose. Trying to drift with me? I'm telling you, it's no use. If you don't pay me today, don't even think about leaving. Tianyi didn't lack money, but he was pissed off today. He wanted to make things difficult for Lin Yi, who told him to crash his cool car. All right, stop wasting time. You crashed my car, and I'm not asking you for money anymore. Let's go our separate ways. I'm in a hurry. Lin Yi got out of the car and looked at his van. There was only a dent in the back, so he smashed it a few times and straightened the metal. Chapter 418. He really didn't dare, huh? Lin Yi shrugged. I just smoothed out the metal on my car. How am I trying to scare you? Just you wait. Don't leave if you dare. Tiandi humphed coldly before pulling out his phone. Ruoguang, where are you? I'm in the North District, on Southern Titanium Road. My car was hit by someone, and this guy doesn't want to pay up, even using his fist to scare me. Fine, I'll wait for you. Hurry up. Lin Yi frowned. Since the guy didn't want to let this go, then he'd deal with it. Lin Yi pulled out his phone as well and called Lingshan. Lingshan was quite surprised to see Lin Yi's call. She thought that Lin Yi had thought of a solution this quickly. She picked up, surprised. Lin Yi, you got a solution? No, someone ran into me on the wrong side of the road. Come take a look. Lin Yi said faintly. Ran into you? Are you all right? Lingshan paused. She needed Lin Yi's help right now, and if something were to happen to Lin Yi, then the rescue mission would be over. I'm fine. They're trying to scam me, and they're trying to scare me. Lin Yi said, You're coming to me for something like this? Can't you solve it yourself? Lingshan found Lin Yi's words funny and annoying at the same time. You're coming to me for something like this? Aren't you supposed to be capable? All right, I'll smash his car and beat him up, Lin Yi said. Lingshan smiled bitterly. All right, wait for me, I'll go over now. If Lin Yi were to smash someone's car, he'd probably end up in the police station. She'd be the one in trouble then. So Lingshan had no choice but to agree. Southern Titanium Road. Lin Yi smiled. If they get here before you come, I'll have to do it. All right, I got it. Lingshan himphed, afraid that Lin Yi would cause trouble for her. Don't be rash. Miss Braindead is coming. Lingshan added helplessly. All right. Only now did Lin Yi realize that Lingshan had a cute side to her. This violent, brain-dead girl wasn't completely useless. It doesn't matter who you go to. I'm telling you, you're dead meat today. Don't even think about leaving if you don't get 100,000. Tiandi threatened, pointing at Lin Yi. This was his newly bought BMW. It had been driven for less than half a month, but it was hit by Lin Yi. The headlights were broken, which made him very distressed. Therefore, he had to make Lin Yi pay the price. The roar of an engine was heard, accompanied by the earth-shattering subwoofer DJ music. A motorcycle quickly drove over and stopped between the BMW and the van. Tiandi was overjoyed. His son was here, and the person who hit his car was dead meat. Dad, what's going on? Who hit you? Zhou Ruoguang jumped off the motorcycle and took charge. He crashed my car and didn't pay up. I'll kill him. That's the little bastard. Beat him up first, then smash his car and make him pay 100,000. Tiandi smiled coldly as he pointed at Lin Yi and gave the order. Tiandi was going crazy with anger. His brand new BMW, with a cool license plate, was destroyed by this kid with a van. He wouldn't be able to calm down if he didn't teach him a lesson. Besides, Tiandi hadn't been in a good mood for the past 2 days. He had his eyes on a girl in the company and was about to get her when her boyfriend came out and ruined his plans. Who? Just you. Hey? Zhou Ruoguang was about to teach the kid with the van a lesson when he turned around and saw Lin Yi. Zhou Ruoguang had better eyesight than his old man Tiandi. Tiandi didn't recognize Lin Yi, but Zhou Ruoguang recognized Lin Yi right away. How? How come it's you? Before Lin Yi could reply, Zhou Ruoguang grabbed his father's arm and pulled him to the side. He whispered, Dad, why did you piss him off again? I can't wait to avoid him, and now you're pissing him off. Aren't you just looking for trouble? Who? You know this kid? Tiandi paused. Even the men who came with Zhou Ruoguang were taken aback. They didn't know why Zhou Ruoguang would say something like that. Isn't he the one who threw you out of the hospital room? Zhou Ruoguang smiled bitterly. Dad, just apologize to him. Don't cause trouble. This kid isn't easy to deal with. Apologize? How can you do that? I don't believe he can fight four hands with two fists. You have so many people with you. What's there to be afraid of? Tiandi frowned. He was a celebrity, after all, and now he had to apologize to a little brat after getting hit by a car on the street. What face would he have left if word got out? How could he take that? Then find someone else, Dad. I don't want to die yet. Zhou Ruoguang shook his head. Linny had already traumatized him last time, and he couldn't bring himself to go against Linny at all. You're just a piece of trash that can't be helped. Tiandi humphed coldly. Even your brother has more balls than you. I'll ask your brother to take care of this kid next time. Zhou Ruoguang kept his head down and didn't say anything. He really didn't dare do anything to Linny. It wasn't an act, and so he pretended not to hear anything Tiandi said. Trash. Tiandi was infuriated. He was about to say something else when a police siren sounded not far away. A police car sped over and stopped beside Tiandi's BMW, its lights flashing. Ling Shan let out a sigh of relief when she saw that everyone was alive and well. She'd rushed through the red lights all the way here because she was afraid that Linny would cause trouble for her. Luckily, Linny didn't hit anyone. All of you, follow me back to the police station. Ling Shan's heart was in her throat the whole time, and she was naturally furious. She pointed at Tiandi and Lin Yi. Tiandi wasn't expecting a police officer to show up all of a sudden. He frowned. Why was there a police officer here when he didn't even call the police? Were they just passing by? What a busybody. I say, comrade, I have friends in the traffic police. You don't have to worry about this anymore. We can handle this ourselves. Tiandi waved his hand at Ling Shan. As far as he was concerned, Ling Shan was young and a policewoman. She was just an intern who just graduated, so he didn't really care about her. She was quite pretty, and her body was hot as well. But Tiandi wasn't stupid enough to flirt with a policewoman. He didn't want to go to jail yet. Chapter 419. I'll give you a mission, all right? Give me a minute. I'll make a call. Tiandi pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Hello? Wang bro. I'm Zhou Tiandi. I got into a car accident on Jinan Road and was about to settle it privately when a police officer came over. Right? Can you talk to her? All right. I'll give her the phone. With that, Tiandi handed the phone to Ling Shan. Answer the phone? Ling Shan looked at Tiandi with a half-smile as she took the phone. Hello, I'm Ling Shan. Who's this? Song. Captain Song? The guy was just about to say something when he heard Ling Shan's name. Everyone in Songshan knew about Ling Shan from the criminal police team. After all, who would dare go against her? He couldn't possibly order a criminal police captain around, could he? Plus, since Ling Shan was keeping an eye on Tiandi, it might be some big case. Maybe he was doing some illegal business. He had to draw a line between him and Ling Shan as soon as possible. With that in mind, Wang Bro said, It's fine, Captain Song. I won't disturb you anymore. Ling Shan handed the phone back to Tiandi, who didn't hear what Wang Bro was saying. I'm Ling Shan. He thought that everything was settled, and was about to thank Wang Bro when he realized that the call had been hung up. Tiandi didn't think much of it, thinking that Wang Bro was busy. Wang Bro told you, right? You can leave now, little comrade. Don't stick your nose in other people's business. Dad. Zhou Ruoguang quickly pulled Tiandi back. Tiandi didn't know Ling Shan, but how could Zhou Ruoguang not know her? As the head of the North District's gangsters, it'd be a waste if he didn't know the criminal police captain. His face paled as he watched his father lecture him. What are you doing? Tiandi glared at his son. What do you want? Dad, she's Captain Song from the crime squad. Zhou Ruoguang said carefully. Wow. Tiandi froze like an idiot. She's the captain of the criminal police force? Are you leaving or not? I don't need to do anything, do I? Ling Shan said as she pulled out the handcuffs. Let's go. Let's go then. Tiandi's face was grim. He didn't think that he'd pissed off the captain of the criminal police. If he didn't leave now, the captain would probably pull out a gun. It's none of my business. I'm just passing by. Zhou Ruoguang didn't want to go to the police station. You're going too. You are illegally driving an unlicensed modified motorcycle, and I suspect that you were trying to gather a crowd to cause trouble. Ling Shan didn't give Zhou Ruoguang the chance to explain. I know you. You can run, but you can't run. You can choose to run. I won't run. Ha! I'll cooperate with the investigation. Zhou Ruoguang smiled miserably with a bitter face. Thank you, Miss Braindead. Lin Yi was quite grateful for Ling Shan's help, although Ruoguang's presence reminded him of who Tianyi was. Getting rid of them would be a piece of cake, but Ruoguang's presence reminded him of who Tianyi was. Ling Shan's speed, however, made Lin Yi think that she wasn't bad. No, you're coming with me. Ling Shan was about to explode. You can call me Miss Braindead in private, can't you? Calling me that in front of so many people. How am I supposed to back down? She wasn't going to let Linny get away with it. I want to go too. Linny pointed at his nose, speechless. He was about to say something when Tang Yun spoke up first. Let's go. We have to cooperate with the investigation. It's our duty. Tang Yun was a good kid. Naturally, she wouldn't reject going to the police station. Besides, it's not our fault, it's their fault. We'll be able to explain ourselves in the police station. Huh? All right. Linny nodded, a bitter smile on his face. Tang Yun was a good kid. After all, Linny didn't care what Ling Shan said, and he'd just leave. He didn't believe that Ling Shan would come after him. Fool! Ling Shan breathed out in relief, too. She'd blurted out those words in a fit of anger, not thinking about the consequences at all. She regretted it immediately after. Since when had Lin Yi ever given her any face? Wasn't she just asking to be humiliated if she ordered him around? If Linny left, she'd be in an even worse position in front of Zhou Tiandi and his son. This was even more serious than the Miss Braindead from before. Now that Tang Yun said that she wanted to go to the police station, Ling Shan breathed out in relief. At the same time, she felt grateful for Tang Yun, but at the same time, she was annoyed at Linny for listening to Tang Yun and taking care of her. She wasn't any worse than Tang Yun, was she? She wasn't any weaker than Tang Yun in terms of looks and height, and her body was several times hotter than Tang Yun's as well. Lin Yi was a blind man. How could he be so rude to her? Ling Shan got angrier the more she thought about it. Why was Linny so gentle to Tang Yun and treating her like this? Did he hate her that much? She had to be Miss Braindead to ask for his help. You guys follow me in the car. Ling Shan got into the police car, and Lin Yi, Tiandi, and the others followed behind as they made their way to the police station. Zhou Tiandi didn't know about the relationship between Lin Yi and Ling Shan, but he was overjoyed to hear Lin Yi call Ling Shan Miss Braindead. This was going to be fun. This Linny was probably going to get beaten up, wasn't he? But Tiandi didn't plan on letting Linny go so easily. On the way to the police station, he called his youngest son, Zhou Ruoguang. Hey, Ruoguang, are you at school? Tiandi had always told Zhou Ruoguang to study hard in school, not letting him get involved in fights. But this time, he was really pissed off. His eldest son, Zhou Ruoguang, was too much of a coward. He couldn't even teach someone a lesson. But his youngest son was a bold and ruthless character. He had always told him to study hard, but Tiandi knew what kind of person he was. Dad, I'm at school, studying. Ruoguang had just finished his meeting with Xiao Xiao, and his father's phone call made him jump. It wasn't checking on him, was it? He quickly explained himself. All right, stop bullshitting. Tiandi scolded. Do you think I don't know what kind of person you are? I'll give you a mission. Go to your Uncle Yan's villa in the northern suburbs and ask him to stop someone in front of the police station. I'll send you that person's information later. Me? Zhou Ruoguang paused. He didn't think that his father would ask him to do something like this. Didn't he always ask his big brother to do it? Plus, it was his first time asking him to take Uncle Yan on a mission. That was too awesome. Chapter 420. Ambush and Interception. Yes, you're the one. Tiandi was about to explode from anger. He wouldn't have asked Zhou Ruoguang to do this otherwise. He couldn't take it anymore, especially after learning that Lin Yi was the one who'd thrown him out of the hospital room the other day. He had to teach Linny a lesson. All right, I'll be right there. Zhou Ruoguang nodded quickly, thinking that it'd be great if he could bring Uncle Yin to teach Linny a lesson. With Uncle Yin there, beating up Lin Yi would be child's play. Of course, Zhou Ruoguang didn't know that the crippled Heibao bro was a golden class master as well. He wouldn't have thought so otherwise. Tiandi sighed softly as he listened to Ruoming's excited tone. His youngest son was quite the ruthless one. Did he make the wrong decision back then? If he'd let his older son study hard and let his younger son mingle in society, that would have been a good choice. But he'd already made the wrong choice. He'd have to make the best of it. Uncle Yin didn't usually use his phone, nor did he use the phone in his room. He was a master of the world, and Zhou Ruoming wouldn't have had to go invite him personally otherwise. But Tiandi didn't mind. He was a master, after all, and it was normal for a golden class master like Uncle Yin to be different. Moreover, Uncle Yin was right, he was a fugitive, and living in seclusion was the right thing to do. In case someone discovered him, Zhou Ruoming quickly ran out of the school, hailed a taxi, and rushed to the villa in the northern suburbs. Uncle Yin knew Zhou Ruoming, and didn't ask much after hearing that it was an order from Zhou Ruoming. He put on a low-brimmed hat and hurried out the door with Zhou Ruoming. Uncle Yin was a golden class master who wandered between his sect and the underworld. He'd been doing robberies for his sect's funds, but he'd been wanted by the police once. Luckily, Tiandi had saved him, and so he stayed in Songshan, promising to do 3 things for Tiandi before leaving. He had done 2 before, and this was the last one. Once he was done, he could leave and continue his robbery. Beep beep. Zhou Ruoming received a message from Tiandi, the license plate number and model of the van written on it. After Zhou Ruoming told Uncle Yin about it, the two of them stood guard on the road in front of the police station. Lingshan didn't make things difficult for Linny when they arrived at the police station. She knew that Linny didn't care about her at all, and that he was only here because of Tang Yun. Therefore, they only gave Linny a statement and let Lin Yi and Tang Yun leave. Lingshan sis is a nice person. Why do you always call her that? Tang Yun didn't understand why Lin Yi would call Lingshan a brain-dead girl. Wasn't Linny a little too bold? He dared to call Lingshan a brain-dead girl, and the weirdest thing was that Lingshan didn't refute it even though she was angry. Ha, she's too troublesome, asking me for help all the time. Linny shrugged and didn't say anything else on the topic. Suddenly, the jade on his chest jumped twice, and Lin Yi's face changed. He slowed down the car. Danger? Danger? Tang Yun paused, but before she could ask anything, a shadow floated over and stood not far from Lin Yi's car. Early phase golden class? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He knew the opponent's strength level, but he didn't know why this early phase golden class master would appear here. From the looks of it, he was here for him. But who sent him? Sihua? Obviously not. He'd already killed his late phase golden class master. Sending another early phase golden class was the same as sending himself to death. He believed that Sihua wasn't that stupid. Zhong Fabai? Probably not. He'd even sent Heibao Bro to prison. Jin Gubong? The only possibility that Lin Yi could think of was him. But in the next moment, Lin Yi realized that he was wrong. The person who jumped out after this early phase golden class master wasn't Jin Gubong, but Zhou Ruoming. Zhou Ruoming, on the other hand, was stunned when he saw Lin Yi and Tang Yun in the car. He almost burst out laughing. He recognized Lin Yi's van, but he couldn't remember Lin Yi's car plate number. Uncle Yan's eyes were sharp, and he saw Lin Yi's car coming over first, so he jumped out. It was only now that Zhou Ruoming realized that the person his father wanted him to stop was Lin Yi. In an instant, Zhou Ruoming's entire body was filled with excitement. He'd been worrying about how to deal with Lin Yi and imagined that Uncle Yin would help him, but Zhou Ruoming knew that it was impossible. He didn't expect it to become reality. Ha, Lin Yi? It's you? Zhou Ruoming laughed loudly. You didn't expect this, did you? You didn't expect this day to come, did you? Lin Yi, classmate? Who asked you to pretend? This time, I'll let you die. Who do you think you are, trying to steal Tang Yun from me? Leave Tang Yun here today, and I'll spare your life. Lin Yi looked at Zhou Ruoming, stunned. Wasn't this guy too naive? Did he think he was invincible just because he got a golden class master? Not to mention the early phase of the golden class. Even if it was the late phase of the golden class, he still had the strength to fight. Ever since he completed the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, Lin Yi's strength was comparable to the late phase of the golden class, and he could even fight a mystic class master in the early phase. Did you eat too many retarded pills? Linny looked at Zhou Ruoming as if he was looking at an idiot. Even a retarded person wouldn't be like you, right? You're not just a normal retarded person. You're too retarded. Miss Retarded is 10,000 times smarter than you. Huh. Tang Yun, of course, knew who Linny was talking about. She couldn't help but laugh when she heard Lin Yi's words. Zhou Ruoming couldn't help but stare blankly. His desire to take Tang Yun for himself grew stronger. It would be a waste to give such a good girl to Lin Yi. Miss Retarded? Zhou Ruoming didn't know who Miss Retarded was, but he knew that Lin Yi's words weren't good. He gritted his teeth. Lin Yi, it's useless for you to say anything now. Since you don't know what's good for you, then I won't be polite anymore. Uncle Yin, kill him. Leave that girl here. Zhou Ruoming was suspected of falsifying the imperial edict. Zhou Tianyi only asked him to teach Lin Yi a lesson, but Zhou Ruoming changed it to kill Lin Yi. Slap. Lin Yi slapped Zhou Ruoming's face again. I told you to stop thinking about Tang Yun. Do you have a bad memory? Or are you deaf? Chapter 421. Effortless Uncle Yin nodded slightly and threw a punch at Lin Yi. In his eyes, Lin Yi was fast, but he was still a normal person. One punch from him would be enough to finish him off. Slap. Zhou Ruoming was shocked, and so was Uncle Yin. Lin Yi's slap landed on Zhou Ruoming's face again, completely ignoring Uncle Yan's punch. He didn't even try to dodge. Are you retarded? You found a sickly old man to deal with me? Retarded pills are delicious, but you can't eat too much of it. I've never seen someone as retarded as you. Lin Yi shook his head. Uncle Yin almost laughed out loud after the shock. Ignorance was bliss. He was an early-phase golden class master, and he was just a sickly old man in Lin Yi's eyes. It was a fact that he was sickly. His body hadn't been healthy since he was young, and he'd only been able to reach the early phase of golden class at most. There wasn't much progress, and that was why he'd volunteered to be the vanguard of his family's sect, coming to the mortal world to steal money to support his family's expenses. But that was only when compared to the other people in his family. This kid in front of him dared to call himself an old man? Uncle Yan's blood rushed to his head as he increased the strength of his fist, preparing to kill Lin Yi with one punch. But before his fist could reach Lin Yi, a crisp slap sounded. Uncle Yin stumbled and fell to the ground, 5 red marks on his face. You think you're something, don't you? You're an early-phase golden class master. So what? Don't you think it's embarrassing for an old man like you to bully 2 young people like us? With that, Lin Yi stomped on Uncle Yan's head, deforming the left side of the man's cheek. Even his teeth fell out. Lin Yi's words made Zhou Ruoming and Tang Yun sweat. They've heard of young people bullying old people, but they've never heard of old people bullying young people. However, Uncle Yin didn't think that there was anything wrong with Lin Yi's words. According to Tang Yun and Zhou Ruoming's understanding, it was only applicable in the common world, not in the Wulin world. In the martial arts world, the older one was, the more profound their skills were. If an old man bullied a young man, it would be criticized by others as bullying the young. However, was he bullying the weak? Uncle Yin was on the verge of tears. He had really misjudged him. Not only had this young man seen through his strength at a glance, but he had also beaten him up so effortlessly. He was an early-phase golden class master, but he was stepped on like a dead dog. He didn't even have a chance to fight back. According to this situation, the young man was at least a middle-phase golden class master, or even a late-phase golden class master. Uncle Yin, what are you doing? Don't worry, there's no one here. Just kill him. Zhou Ruoming didn't understand the situation. He thought that Uncle Yin was pretending to be weak, pretending that he was bullied by Lin Yi, so that he could kill Lin Yi. Although that would achieve his goal, it didn't feel good no matter how he looked at it. It wasn't as satisfying as killing Lin Yi directly, so Zhou Ruoming reminded Uncle Yin anxiously. He couldn't be blamed for thinking that way. In his eyes and heart, early-phase golden class masters were like gods, a symbol of invincibility. He once heard from his father, Zhou Tianyi, that it took several armed policemen to barely control Uncle Yin. What did that mean? If it was one-on-one, Uncle Yin was invincible. Although Zhou Ruoming didn't know what early phase golden class was like, he felt that it had to be stronger than Lin Yi. No matter how good Lin Yi was, he was just a normal person. How could he compare to a master of the martial arts world? Even if Lin Yi beat Heibao Bro to a pulp, Heibao Bro was just a gangster. No matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be stronger than a golden class master. That was why Zhou Ruoming could say something so stupid. Uncle Yin heard Zhou Ruoming's words and cried in his heart. Didn't you see the situation? Did you think I wanted to be stepped on? I had no choice but to be stepped on. The opponent's strength was obviously much higher than mine. I'm no match for him. Zhou Ruoming, how did you know I was here? Lin Yi didn't forget to ask Zhou Ruoming as he stepped on Uncle Yin. Lin Yi, don't be so arrogant. When Uncle Yin shows his power, you'll be dead. Zhou Ruoming, the idiot, still didn't see the situation clearly. He still thought that Uncle Yin could kill Lin Yi. You crashed my dad's car and broke my brother's arm. I brought Uncle Yin here to stop you. Oh, that idiot from before was your dad? Lin Yi realized. No wonder Zhou Ruoming knew where he was. So he was Zhou Tiandi's son, Zhou Ruoguang's brother. It was like the saying went, don't enter the same door if you're not a family. A family of idiots. Uncle Yin, what are you doing? Hurry up and kill this kid. Zhou Ruoming was confused when he saw that Uncle Yin hadn't exploded yet. Zhao Lao, there are too many people here. It's not easy to kill this old man. Is there a way to cripple him? Lin Yi asked Zhao Yazi in the Jade. Of course. Zhao Lao's voice sounded. People like him who reached golden class through immature training methods have all sorts of flaws. How can they compare to your art of dragon mastery? As long as they haven't reached the earth class, they will have a weak point. Once you break through their weak point, they'll basically be crippled unless they retrain their body and enter golden class through physical arts. Then where's his weak point? Lin Yi was surprised and happy after hearing Zhao Lao's words. This, I don't know, Zhao Yazi said. Lin Yi almost fell down. Even Zhao Yazi didn't know? But generally, the weak point of golden class is near the Dantian, unless it's a very special physical practitioner. Zhao Yazi's next words gave Lin Yi hope again. Bang! Lin Yi's foot landed on Uncle Yan's Dantian, and Uncle Yin let out a blood-curdling scream before fainting. His whole body was like a deflated balloon, and he slumped to the ground. Lin Yi knew that he had broken Uncle Yan's weak point and directly crippled him. The moment he kicked, Lin Yi could feel the true energy in Uncle Yan's body quickly leaking out until it disappeared. Just like what Zhao Lao said, Lin Yi could no longer feel Uncle Yan's strength. In his eyes, Uncle Yin was no different from an ordinary old man. Chapter 422. He's mute. A chill rose from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. Zhou Ruoming looked at Lin Yi in horror. You, what are you doing? Don't come any closer. Pa. Another slap landed on Zhou Ruoming's face. This time, Lin Yi used more strength, and Zhou Ruoming's right tooth fell out, and the corner of his mouth cracked. You killed Uncle Yin? Zhou Ruoming found it unbelievable. An early phase golden class master was like a god. How could Lin Yi kill him with just a few kicks? How is this possible? No, I'm not like you. Who dares to shout about killing me at the drop of a hat? I'm actually very timid. As Lin Yi spoke, he slapped Zhou Ruoming's face again. Zhou Ruoming's face was almost swollen like a pig's head. Misunderstanding. Boss Lin Yi, it was actually my dad who asked me to bring Uncle Yin to look for trouble with you. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just a messenger. Please don't look for trouble with me. Zhou Ruoming knew that he couldn't outrun Lin Yi. Running was equivalent to seeking his own death. He had no choice but to kneel on the ground. Boss Lin Yi, it really has nothing to do with me. That's not what I'm talking about. Lin Yi shook his head. I'm talking about your intentions towards Tang Yun. Lin Yi stepped on Ruoming's face, and Ruoming let out a cry of pain. Ah? I've already said that Tang Yun is my woman. You're still thinking about her? Do you want to die? Lin Yi felt that if he didn't teach Zhou Ruoming a lesson, he wouldn't know that there was such a thing as death in this world. Ah? Ruoming screamed as he held his head. Boss Lin, I won't do it again. I won't do it again. I've lost my mind. I won't do anything to Tang Yun anymore. Please let me go. Linny, stop kicking. What if someone dies? Tang Yun was shocked by Lin Yi's craziness, but Linny was doing this for her. Tang Yun felt sweet inside. As long as she was with Lin Yi, he would protect her no matter what happened. However, although Tang Yun hated Zhou Ruoming, she couldn't beat him to death. She didn't want Lin Yi to go to jail because of this. She quickly stopped Lin Yi. Ha! He won't die. He's far from death. At most, he'll become an idiot. But it'll save him medicine. He won't have to spend money on stupid pills every day. He'll just become an idiot. Linny smiled. No, I don't want to become an idiot. Linny boss, let me go. Zhou Ruoming was about to cry. He'd rather die than become an idiot. Scram, Linny said faintly. Yes, I'll scram. I'll scram now. Zhou Ruoming didn't dare to get up and run. Who knew if Lin Yi would use this as an excuse? In order to make sure that Lin Yi couldn't find anything wrong with him, Zhou Ruoming really started rolling on the ground. Tang Yun couldn't help but laugh at Zhou Ruoming's behavior. She didn't approve of Lin Yi using violence, but she had to admit that today was very satisfying. She got her revenge. If it weren't for Lin Yi, she'd still have to endure Zhou Ruoming's teasing every day. Who knew if she'd fall into his trap one day? Lin Yi looked at Uncle Yin on the ground and took out his phone to call Ling Shan. Ling Shan had just sent Zhou Tiandi and Zhou Ruoguang to the traffic police station. They didn't seem to have committed any crimes, but it was just a traffic violation. Ling Shan didn't have the authority to do anything about it, so she handed them over. Her phone rang as soon as she got back to her office. She frowned when she saw the name Lin Yi. Did Lin Yi cause trouble again? Ling Shan didn't believe that Lin Yi could find a way to cure Bodyguard so quickly. The only possibility was that he was looking for her. She rubbed her throbbing temples and picked up the phone helplessly. Lin Yi, what's up? I got ambushed when I came out of the police station. I've subdued him already. Come and take him away, Lin Yi said. Wah. You got ambushed? Who? Ling Shan paused. Zhou Tiandi sent me, I think. Lin Yi said faintly. Hurry up. Follow the road in front of the police station and you'll see me. With that, Lin Yi hung up, pissing Ling Shan off. Was he ordering her around? How dare you order me? Ling Shan was pissed, but she couldn't refuse. She got up and went downstairs, driving to find Lin Yi. Isn't that an old man? Did Zhou Tiandi send him? You didn't hit him with your car, did you? Ling Shan was very suspicious that Lin Yi had accidentally hit someone and blamed it on Tiandi, saying that the old man was one of Tiandi's men. He can stop you? Golden class early phase. Lin Yi shrugged. Can you be any more retarded? Golden class early phase? Ling Shan's mouth was wide open. She looked at the old man's face, and her face changed. A wanted criminal. The man in front of her was a wanted criminal. As the captain of the criminal police, Ling Shan would often look at pictures of wanted criminals. It didn't take long for her to recognize this old man in front of her. Yin Qiyuan, wanted for murder and robbery. He'd been wanted for more than 2 years, and now he was here. He's a wanted criminal, right? Lin Yi guessed from Ling Shan's expression. That's right. Ling Shan nodded, a flash of joy in her eyes. This Lin Yi was lucky enough to catch a wanted criminal. This Yin Qiyuan was indeed a golden class early phase, but from the looks of it, he'd been crippled by Lin Yi. He was about the same as Heibao. Lin Yi patted Qiyuan's body, waking him up. Qiyuan's face was still filled with pain and sorrow. He was a golden class early phase, and he'd been crippled just like that? How could there be such a powerful figure in the secular world now? Looking at Lin Yi's age, he was only 20, right? Crack. Ling Shan took out her handcuffs and cuffed Qiyuan. She didn't feel any danger, but Qiyuan was still a golden class early phase. Ling Shan didn't dare treat him lightly. All right, I'm leaving. Lin Yi saw that he had nothing else to do and prepared to leave with Tang Yun. Wait, come back with me to make a statement. Ling Shan called out to Lin Yi. Can't you just say you caught him yourself? It's not the first time something like this happened. Lin Yi, naturally, didn't want to go back with Ling Shan. But the criminal's statement, Ling Shan thought to herself, if she said she caught him, what if Qi Yuan said something? Chapter 423. Chapter 423. What a do-ah! Ling Shan paused as she looked at Lin Yi, stunned. She was a golden class master herself, and had guessed that Lin Yi was a golden class master as well, but she'd never seen something like Lin Yi's miraculous skill before. 2 random pats, and this guy turned into a mute? Uncle Yin didn't believe it as well. He'd never seen Lin Yi do something like this. Could it be acupuncture? That wasn't possible. He was a Wulian practitioner, and he'd never heard of anyone who knew how to use acupuncture. That was something that only existed in novels and dramas. It didn't exist in real life. He didn't believe Lin Yi's words, and was just about to say something to prove that he wasn't a mute when he realized that he couldn't speak. Ling Shan didn't know what to say as she looked at the Yin Qi Yuan. It seemed like Lin Yi had really turned this guy into a mute. It was too scary. A few random pats, and he turned into a mute? Oh, right. He can still write. Maybe I should turn him into an idiot? Lin Yi suddenly thought of that. Ugh. Yin Qi Yuan shook his head furiously after hearing Lin Yi's words. Was this a joke? Turn himself into an idiot? What was the point of living then? He still had to pass the news to his family, and as for who'd caught him, he didn't have the heart to tell the police he was going to die anyway, and talking about it was just a waste of breath. See, he said he wouldn't talk. All right, that's all. I'm leaving. Lin Yi, naturally, didn't want to turn Yin Qi Yuan into an idiot in front of Ling Shan. He shrugged and pulled Tang Yun into the car. Ling Shan looked at Lin Yi with a complicated gaze before getting into the police car with Qi Yuan, heading back to the police station. Ling Shan brought Yin Qi Yuan into the police station just in time to see Zhou Tiandi and his son walking out of the station after receiving their punishment. Tiandi looked at Yin Qi Yuan, who Ling Shan was holding, and jumped in fright. A flash of shock and fear appeared in his eyes. How did Uncle Yin get captured by Ling Shan? Didn't he ask Zhou Ruoming to lead him to intercept Lin Yi? Why, Mr. Zhou? Do you know this murderer and robber? Ling Shan looked at the shocked Tiandi. Naturally, she knew that Yin Qi Yuan was Tiandi's doing, but Tiandi wouldn't admit to something like this without evidence. No, I don't know him. Tiandi shook his head and dragged Zhou Ruoguang away. He didn't dare to have anything to do with a murderer, even though they were clearly related. Ling Shan smiled coldly as she watched Tiandi and Zhou Ruoguang leave. She turned around and bumped into Lu Wangli. Captain Song, you arrested someone? He's so old. What did he do? Wangli asked as he looked at the criminal in Ling Shan's hands. Yin Qi Yuan, he's a fugitive for robbery and murder. Ling Shan said faintly to Lu Wangli, I'll leave him to you. Captain Song, you brought Yin Qi Yuan back? Wang Li's eyes were wide as he looked at Ling Shan in awe. Ling Shan had been solving many big cases recently, and her position in the police and criminal police had skyrocketed. She was now a qualified successor to Huaijuan. The voices that said that Ling Shan only knew how to charge and not solve cases were all gone now. It seemed that everyone approved of Ling Shan. Lu Wangli didn't like it when his superior was being talked about, and now they were all praising him. Lu Wangli was amazing. And now that Ling Shan had brought back a fugitive, Lu Wangli felt even more proud. Ling Shan, on the other hand, felt conflicted. Just what was her relationship with Lin Yi? Was it a partnership or an enemy? She really couldn't tell. Tiandi and Zhou Ruoguang went back to the car, and Tiandi clutched his chest in shock. Ruoguang, am I seeing things? Isn't that Uncle Yin? It's Uncle Yin. Zhou Ruoguang nodded. How did Ling Shan get him? Isn't he an early-phase golden class? I don't know. Let's call Ruoming first. Tiandi was desperate to find out the truth. Hello? Ruoming? What happened to you? How did the police get Uncle Yin? Tiandi called Zhou Ruoming, firing off a barrage of questions before Zhou Ruoming could say anything. Dad, it's big. Zhou Ruoming was scared out of his wits as well, hiding at home. He didn't even dare go to school. That kid's called Lin Yi. He's from our school. He's a master. He knocked Uncle Yin out with one slap and knocked him out with a few kicks. What? That guy's that strong? Tiandi was shocked when he heard Zhou Ruoming's words. What shocked him the most was that Zhou Ruoming knew Lin Yi. He's the tyrant of our school. No one dares mess with him now. Zhou Ruoming sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He didn't like me from the start, and I brought Uncle Yin to cause trouble for him today. You've really gotten me killed. Dad, I don't even dare go to school anymore. Tiandi's face paled instantly. He knew how strong Uncle Yin was, and how strong did someone have to be to take him down so easily. How did he end up messing with someone like that? Tiandi was scared just thinking about it. If Lin Yi really wanted to kill him, it'd be as easy as killing an ant. He'd even had to fight over a hospital room with him last time. He couldn't even imagine the consequences. Tiandi wasn't the one with the worst expression on his face, but Zhou Ruoguang. He'd heard what Tiandi said through the phone, and he was even more scared than Tiandi. Dad, I told you we couldn't mess with this guy, and you just had to do it. Now we're done for. He can kill us like a toy. What are we going to do in the future? You even told me to go teach him a lesson last time. It's a good thing I didn't go, or you'd be burning Joss paper for me right now. All right, Ruoguang, don't be scared. Lin Yi is strong, but he didn't do anything to us, did he? He kept Uncle Yin and let Ruoming go, which means he doesn't want to bother with normal people like us. We just don't mess with him in the future and find a way to give him a red envelope. We'll have a feast to apologize to him. I don't think he'll hold it against us, will he? Tiandi was a smart man, and he immediately analyzed the situation. I guess that's the only way. Zhou Ruoguang nodded. I was possessed last time, and I even wanted to flirt with the girl next to him. Man, I'm scared just thinking about it. Yeah, I remember what he looks like this time, and I even took a picture of it and saved it in my phone. We'll avoid him when we see him in the future, and if we can't avoid him, we'll be more respectful. They say you don't hit someone who's smiling at you, so we'll just suck up to him a little. He's a master. I don't think he'll hold it against us, right? Chapter 424. Xiao Xiao wants revenge. Xiao Xiao hadn't thought of a way to deal with Lin Yi yet, but she was a little embarrassed to face Lin Yi. She'd been drenched by him at noon, and Xiao Xiao was quite embarrassed. She'd never been in such an awkward situation in her life, and now she'd fallen into Lin Yi's hands. What surprised Xiao Xiao was that she didn't see Lin Yi when she returned to the classroom. She let out a breath of relief. Hey, pretty girl, you know my boss? Kong Xiaobo turned around, curious about Xiao Xiao's identity. It was obvious that she was here for Lin Yi, but he didn't want to ask Lin Yi. Now that Lin Yi wasn't in the classroom, he could ask Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi's your boss? Xiao Xiao wanted to find someone familiar with Lin Yi to get to know Lin Yi better. Yeah, I'm his follower. Kong Xiaobo said proudly, as if being Lin Yi's follower was something to be proud of. Oh. Xiao Xiao rolled her eyes and said to Kong Xiaobo, I'll tell you something in secret. Don't tell anyone, including your boss, Lin Yi. Xiaobo hesitated. He wanted to hear what Xiao Xiao was talking about, but he didn't want to hide it from Lin Yi. It wasn't a good idea. I won't tell you if you don't agree. Xiao Xiao saw Kong Xiaobo's hesitation and threw out a more important chip. It's about me coming to find your boss. As expected, Kong Xiaobo was interested, scratching his ears and cheeks as he hesitated. Then tell me. I won't tell my boss. Please don't tell me, or I'll be really embarrassed. Xiao Xiao looked at Kong Xiaobo, putting on a pitiful look. Don't worry, I'm a man of my word. I promise I won't tell the boss. Kong Xiaobo patted his chest and promised. But Kong Xiaobo wasn't an idiot. He promised not to tell Lin Yi, but he didn't promise not to tell Tang Yun. He'd just tell Tang Yun, and Tang Yun would tell Lin Yi, and it wouldn't have anything to do with him. Actually, I like Lin Yi. I transferred here because of him. Xiao Xiao whispered to Kong Xiaobo, blushing. Huh. Kong Xiaobo's eyes widened. You have a crush on my boss? Xiao Xiao nodded. Don't tell anyone. Don't worry, I promised. Kong Xiaobo was in a difficult position now. This wasn't something he could tell Tang Yun. It'd be gossip. Hey, can you tell me about Lin Yi? I want to know more about him. As far as Xiao Xiao was concerned, Zhou Ruoming and Pinliang's information were all indirect. Only someone like Kang Xiaobo, who interacted with Lin Yi all the time, could be trusted. But, my boss has a girlfriend already. Your chances are really slim. Kang Xiaobo sighed. His boss was really lucky. All the girls who liked him were so pretty. It's okay. I don't care. I don't care about the title. I just want to be by his side quietly. I won't fight for anything. Xiao Xiao shook her head and said pitifully. Ah. Kang Xiaobo froze. There were girls like this in this day and age. Xiao Xiao wasn't bad at all. She could get any boyfriend she wanted, but she didn't care about the status and wanted to be with Lin Yi. His boss was outstanding, but Xiaobo was still very envious. He felt pity for Xiao Xiao. So what you're saying is that you want to be by his side quietly, only giving and not taking? And Xiao Xiao nodded. Boss is here. We'll talk next time. Kang Xiaobo raised his head to see Lin Yi enter the classroom. He quickly shut his mouth. Lin Yi drove Tang Yun back to school. There wasn't any traffic on the way, but they were still a little late, only entering the school after the first afternoon class. What surprised him in the afternoon class was that Xiao Xiao, who'd changed her clothes, seemed to have forgotten about what happened in the washroom at lunchtime. She didn't bother him at all, didn't even bring it up. What surprised Lin Yi even more was that the entire afternoon was quiet. Xiao Xiao didn't say anything to him. What surprised Lin Yi was that Kang Xiaobo was looking at him in a weird way. It wasn't that Xiao Xiao didn't want to say anything, but she hadn't found a way to deal with Lin Yi yet. She didn't want to let Lin Yi go so easily. Getting drenched in Lin Yi's piss was the biggest humiliation she'd ever experienced in her life. She'd never been so humiliated. But Xiao Xiao couldn't find a way to teach Lin Yi a lesson right now. On one hand, she wanted Lin Yi to teach her how to drive, so she couldn't offend Lin Yi too much. For example, that stupid suggestion from Zhou Ruoming was something she couldn't accept. If she did anything to Tang Yun, then Lin Yi would become her mortal enemy, and that would ruin her original goal. It would be best if she could teach Lin Yi a lesson, but it wouldn't be too much of a loss. Just a little humiliation, just like how she did in the afternoon. When school was about to end, the homeroom teacher Lu came to the classroom and walked up to the podium. Everyone quiet down. I have something to say. Tomorrow, our graduating class is going to have a tree planting event. There's an empty space behind the school, and it's where all the graduating students plant trees. We're about to graduate, and we'll be going our separate ways. In order to leave a memory for our old school, everyone can plant trees on this empty space. A few years later, when you return to your old school, it'll have a special meaning. Teacher Lu's words drew a round of applause from all the students present. The dull and boring life of a senior high student was filled with repetitive reading, questions, and tests. Now that there was such an activity, everyone naturally raised their hands to welcome it. There's no limit to the types of saplings. They're sold at the flower, bird, and fish market not far from the school. You can get them for a few kwai to a few hundred, depending on your financial ability. If you're really poor, you can donate a few kwai sapling from the class allowance, Teacher Lu said. Although there weren't any poor students in his class, he still had to say it according to tradition. Everyone expressed their support. Before graduation, most students wanted to leave a memory for their old school. After all, they were about to leave. Returning to their old school after a few years and seeing the sapling they planted with their own hands grow up was a different feeling. Chapter 425. Chapter 425. Shark Hunting Opportunity? What's so good about planting trees? Pin Liang didn't quite understand what Xiaofu was getting at. Liang bro, think about it. You can make a tree and decorate it with Meng Yao's name. Meng Yao definitely like it when she sees it. All girls like these. Gao Xiaofu said, look at the return of the Condor heroes. On Guoxiang's birthday, Yanghua gave her a firework. As a result, she was so happy that she even pledged her life to him. Gave herself to him? Why did I think Guoxiang became a nun? Pin Liang blinked. Ugh, then she became a nun. I don't remember. Maybe I was looking at Dejinshi? Xiaofu said, a little embarrassed. I think that being a nun is for love. Anyway, it'll definitely work. You're saying that I should light a firework too? Pin Liang asked. Yeah, Liang bro. Haven't you heard of the Flare Silverflower Nightless Club? We'll give Mengyao a Flare Silverflower Nightless Club. Xiaofu said. All right, it's settled then. I'll go buy a sapling. Pinliang thought that it was a good idea. It was much easier than writing a letter of blood. At least he wouldn't have to hurt himself with the Flare Silverflower Nightless Club. This sapling needs to be special, too. It can't be the same as the others. If it's the same, then we won't be able to show how special we are. Xiaofu said. All right, I'll do some research and get an imported sapling. Pinliang was very excited. Xiaofu had finally come up with a good idea. Liang bro, should we tell Xiao Lil sis about this? She's the big sis of our class now. After all, we should at least tell her about this big thing we're doing, right? Xiaofu reminded. That's right, we should tell her about this in case Xiao Lil sis has some plans against Lin Yi. It'd be bad if there were any conflicts. After school, Pinliang invited Xiao to a corner of the school field, preparing to tell her about what Xiaofu had told him. Xiao patiently listened to Xiaofu's explanation. She wasn't interested in whether or not Pinliang was going after Mengyao. Her target was Lin Yi. That's it? What does that have to do with me? Xiao frowned. I thought you guys thought of a way to humiliate Lin Yi. Humiliating Lin Yi? Little sister Xiao, didn't you want to teach him a lesson? Why are you humiliating him again? Pinliang paused. He'd thought that Xiao and Lin Yi had some sort of deep grudge, but it didn't seem like it. Why do you care what I want to do? Xiao humphed. I've embarrassed myself to death today, so I'm going to embarrass him. If that's the case, I have an idea. Gao Xiaofu's eyes lit up. What plan? Xiao looked at this useless advisor, not sure what he could say. Aren't we going to create a fireworks silver flower never sleeps? There'll be fireworks and firecrackers, and we'll give you a string of firecrackers, and you secretly hang them on Lin Yi's butt. Light it up, and Lin Yi's butt. Heh. He'll be as humiliated as you can imagine. Xiaofu wasn't good at other things, but he could come up with some dirty tricks. Oh? Xiao started thinking about the feasibility of this plan. If done correctly, it was a good idea. Secretly hang the firecrackers on Lin Yi's back without him noticing, and when Pinliang lit up the fireworks, they'd secretly light the firecrackers on Lin Yi's back, pretending that it was an accident. Even if Lin Yi wanted revenge, he wouldn't be able to find any evidence, would he? Little sister Xiao, I think Xiaofu's idea isn't bad. Pinliang, naturally, hated Lin Yi to the bone, and so he encouraged Xiao to do it the moment he heard that it could humiliate Lin Yi. Well, I'll think about it. Xiao wasn't as confident as Pinliang was. She needed to study the possibilities of this plan. Yao, are we going to plant trees tomorrow? Yushu was looking forward to this event. In fact, she was looking forward to anything new and interesting. Of course we're going a few years later, when we've all graduated, gotten married, and had kids. We'll bring them to visit our alma mater. We'll tell them that this is where their mom went to. It should be very educational. Mengyao nodded seriously. Oh, then will our kids have the same dad? Yushu asked. Shoo. Mengyao glared at Yushu. She really wanted to crack open her best friend's skull and see what was inside. How could Yushu turn something as serious as this into a farce just like that? Yushu blinked. Open your mouth, Mengyao ordered. No, never. Yushu shook her head. Why? Mengyao paused. Yushu had always been an obedient girl. You pulled my tongue out, it hurts. Yushu said. You know it hurts, and you're still talking nonsense? Mengyao humphed. Then I won't talk about it next time, Yushu promised. You always say next time. Next time? Next time? How many times will there be next time? Mengyao didn't believe Yushu at all. Yao, the original meaning of this sentence is tomorrow after tomorrow. How many times will there be tomorrow? Yushu said. Oh, then tomorrow it is. It's more or less the same. Who cares about tomorrow? Shoo, you're changing the topic again. Mengyao was speechless. Yushu had almost gotten away with it again. Hee. Yushu stuck her tongue out. Let's not talk about it for so long. We haven't gotten the saplings yet. Let's go buy some? All right. Mengyao forgave Yushu for now. She had to learn to be tolerant with a best friend like this. Take a step back. Otherwise, she'd die of anger 10 times a day. Go get Lin Yi and tell him to drive with us. We can't fit the saplings in the car. Okay. Shield bro. Shield bro. Yushu called Lin Yi at the top of her lungs. Linny had gone back to her room after seeing Yushu and Mingyao bickering. She was already used to the two's behavior, so she wasn't surprised at all. Linny heard Yushu's call and walked out of the room. What is it? Shield bro, I want to eat shark meat again, Yushu said. Mingyao almost fell off the sofa. Didn't she ask him to go buy saplings? Why was the shark meat involved again? Oh, they don't sell it on the market. Why don't you go catch one yourself? Linny was speechless. Shark meat wasn't that tasty. Why did this Miss Chen like it? Chapter 426. Chapter 426, Tree Shopping Shoe. Aren't we going out to buy saplings? Meng Yao said through gritted teeth, holding back the urge to faint. Right. Then let's buy saplings first. Yushu nodded. Linny, we're going out to buy saplings, and the car's pretty big. Should we go in your car? Meng Yao didn't let Yushu do it for her this time. She didn't really want to talk to Linny, but she didn't know what to say after Linny got into trouble with Xiao Xiao today. She was a little embarrassed. She was the one who'd caused all this trouble, and yet she'd asked Shu to text Linny and ask if he was messing around. All right. Linny nodded. How could he say no to the miss? Linny asked. Are we leaving now? Yeah, we're leaving now. Meng Yao stood up and pulled Yushu along, getting ready to leave with Lin Yi. It was the first time the Miss and Miss Chun had been in Lin Yi's broken car, and they couldn't help but gasp at how broken it was. Shield bro, this car of yours, it can still be driven? Yushu couldn't understand how a car like this could still move, and it was moving pretty fast too. You know now whether it can drive or not, right? Linny smiled. A follower like me would be lucky to have a broken car to drive. Oh, I'll give you my car then. I don't like driving anyway, Yushu said seriously. Meng Yao felt a little embarrassed. Linny was her follower, and he didn't even have a car. Who knew what junkyard he'd gotten it from? She coughed. Linny, I'll tell Faubert to buy you a business car tomorrow. It's fine. I'm pretty used to it. Linny wasn't expecting the miss to be this sensitive. He just said it casually, and she wanted to buy him a car. Oh, Meng Yao, naturally, wouldn't try to convince Linny otherwise. That Xiao Xiao didn't do anything to you today, did she? Man, why not? She took a photo of me going to the toilet to blackmail me, but I thought it was Zhong Pingliang, so I pissed her all over. That's a big grudge. Linny didn't try to hide it. This was all because of him going out with the miss. So Meng Yao couldn't blame it on him if anything happened to Xiao Xiao in the future. You thought she was Zhong Pingliang and pissed her all? Meng Yao's eyes widened. She and Shu had gone to check the toilet when it rained last time, and the thought of Pingliang's pitiful face was hilarious. But how embarrassing would it be if it were a girl? Meng Yao's eyes were wide open. She'd gone to the toilet with Shu last time when it rained, and thinking about Zhong Pingliang's pitiful state was quite funny. But how embarrassing would it be if it were a girl? Meng Yao could imagine that if it were her, she'd probably want to die. There was no way Xiao Xiao would just let it go. Linny didn't mind. Let her be. She'll leave when she's tired of revenge. She's just a little girl. Linny didn't really care. Let her be. She'll leave when she's tired of revenge. She's just a little girl. I'm really sorry. I didn't think she'd go after you, Meng Yao said apologetically. Maybe I'll talk to her tomorrow. Tell her that it wasn't your fault. Meng Yao's face was a little red as she humphed. I'm a person who knows what's good and bad for me. Don't think that just because I spoke up for you, it means that I'll treat you well. I'm telling you, I actually still really hate you, Meng Yao blurted out in a panic, but regretted it immediately after. Did she really still hate Linny? It didn't seem like it anymore, huh? Linny smiled. I know, but Xiao Xiao can't do anything to me. Don't go after her. In case the class finds out about our relationship, Meng Yao gritted her teeth at Lin Yi. In case the class finds out about our relationship? So what if they find out? What's there to be afraid of if I'm not even scared? What's the meaning of this? But Meng Yao understood that Linny was saying this because he didn't want to put her in a difficult position, not because of himself. But Meng Yao was still angry. Any other boy would be more than happy to have a relationship with her, but why didn't this Linny realize that at all? Could it be that he was so weak? Mingyao didn't say anything, and the atmosphere in the car got a little heavy. Luckily, Yushu was there. Shield bro, do you think there'd be sharks in the flowerbird fish market? Mingyao really wanted to slap Yushu to death. Shu, do you think people would buy a shark to raise at home? Aren't they afraid of getting eaten by sharks? There are. Yushu nodded. For example, suicidal people. All right, you win. Mingyao slapped her forehead. Linny parked the car in front of the fish market and brought Mingyao and Yushu inside. Follow closely, it's a messy place. There might be pickpockets. Oh, Yushu quickened her steps before slowing down again. I didn't bring any money. Shu, are you serious? You're not joking? Mengyao's face changed upon hearing Yushu's words. No, Yao Yao, you know that I like to put my wallet in my bag. Yushu said. Look at my dress. Where's my wallet? I didn't bring any either. Mengyao frowned. Linny, did you bring any money? I did. Linny said to himself. No wonder Faubert gave him a credit card. These two girls didn't bring any money when they went out. Then, I'll lend it to you. Mengyao breathed out in relief. It'd be a wasted trip if Lin Yi didn't bring any money. Wow, Yao Yao, look, there really are saplings for sale here. There's so many different types. Yushu was dazzled as she walked in. Yao Yao, what should we plant tomorrow? Mengyao shook her head. She wasn't an expert in plants, so she didn't know what to buy. Yao Yao, look over there. That tree looks special. Why does it need drip? Yushu pointed at a few saplings not far away. I don't know, maybe it's sick. Mengyao said. Ah, it's nutrient fluids. Some imported saplings need to be injected with nutrient fluids because of the difference in environment, or they won't survive. Linny explained with a smile. Some high-class parks have these kinds of trees. This one looks interesting. Yao Yao, maybe we should buy this? Yushu found the tree quite interesting. Chapter 427. Chapter 427. Phone robbery, you're right. I can't do it every day. Yushu said as she stuck her tongue out. Can't you stop doing stupid things like that? Mingyao said helplessly. All right. Yao Yao, what kind of tree do you think we should buy? Yushu asked timidly as she shrunk her head back. Something a little prettier, something a little more normal? Mingyao didn't understand stuff like that. How about a fruit tree? Ah, why did you bump into me? A young man bumped into Mingyao, causing her to stumble and almost fall to the ground. The young man quickly apologized. I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. I was in a hurry to move the goods. Oh, it's nothing. Mingyao frowned, deciding not to argue with the guy since he said it wasn't intentional. Wait, the guy was about to leave when Linny pulled him back. Wah, what are you doing? The guy's eyes flashed with wariness, and Mingyao looked at Linny, not quite sure what was going on. She'd already let it go, so why was Linny holding a grudge now? Take out your phone, Linny said faintly. Phone? What phone? The guy was clearly panicking, but he started yelling all of a sudden. It's a robbery. Someone's trying to steal my phone. Someone come quickly. The guy's yelling attracted the attention of the people around them, and they all came over to watch the commotion. What's going on? A couple of security guards walked over to the guy. He's trying to rob me, and he asked for my phone. The guy said innocently. Yeah, I can prove it. This guy doesn't know what's right or wrong. He's asking for his phone. Someone in the crowd interrupted all of a sudden. Oh, if that's the case, follow me to the security room then. The leader of the security guards said as he looked at Lin Yi, his eyes lingering on Mingyao and Yushu behind him, a perverted look in his eyes. Linny, what's going on? Mingyao was getting a little pissed off. They were here to buy saplings. What was Linny doing? Stopping a stranger and asking for his phone? Your phone was stolen by him. Linny shrugged and looked at Mississippi. My phone? Mengyao's face changed as she touched her pocket. The phone that was originally in his pocket had disappeared. You mean, he stole my phone? Yes, why else would I stop him? Linny nodded. Hey, don't fucking slander me. Who took your phone? The young man puffed out his chest and shouted confidently, "If you say that I took your phone, then why don't you take a look? You turned off your phone long ago." Linny glanced at him and said faintly. Lin E clearly saw through his little cleverness. "All right, that's enough. Follow me to the security room, and we'll be able to tell who's right and who's wrong when we get there." The captain evidently didn't want Linny to say anything more as he pushed him away. Linny's eyes narrowed as he guessed what was going on. This security captain was in cahoots with the thief. "You two wait for me in the car. Never mind, stay with me." Linny wanted to let Ming Yao and Yushu wait in the car first, but thinking of the perverted look in the security captain's eyes, Lin Yi didn't feel at ease. It was better to let them stay with him. Zhou Ruoming only returned to school when it was almost time for school to end. He asked a few of his lackeys and was relieved to hear that Lin Yi didn't look for him or ask about him. It seemed like Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with him anymore. At first, Zhou Ruoming thought that Lin Yi didn't kill him because he didn't want to fall out with him, but today, he truly understood that Lin Yi didn't care about him at all. If he wanted to kill him, he would have done it a long time ago, just like Uncle Yin today. So what if he was a golden class master? Didn't he still get stepped on by Lin Yi? As long as he understood this, Zhou Ruoming wasn't afraid anymore. As long as he didn't offend Lin Yi in the future, there shouldn't be a problem. "Ming bro, are we going to join the tree planting tomorrow?" It was Zhou Ruoming's #1 lackey, Yun Lingxi. Of course, of course. Zhou Ruoming was very proud when he heard about tree planting. Look at the forest behind the school. There were at least 3 or 4 trees planted by Zhou Ruoming. 1 tree a year. He'd been in high school for 3 or 4 years now. Everyone else only had 1 tree, but Zhou Ruoming had several. Who could compete with him? Who could compete with him? Every time he planted a tree, Zhou Ruoming would be especially proud. As they spoke, Zhou Ruoming's phone rang again. It was his father, Zhou Tiandi. Tiandi was getting more and more scared the more he thought about it. He discussed it with Zhou Ruoguang and comforted himself for a while, but the more he thought about it, the more he felt uneasy. And so, he decided to ask his youngest son, Zhou Ruoming, about what happened back then. He wanted to know what Lin Yi meant. It was easy to invite a god in, but hard to send him away. Offending a god like Lin Yi wasn't going to end well. "Where are you right now?" Tiandi asked. "Dad, I'm at school. School just ended. What's up?" Zhou Ruoming asked. "Come to my company. I have something to ask you. I'll pick you up at school right now," Tiandi said. He didn't send a car to pick Zhou Ruoming up every day in order to make him study hard. He didn't think that this would give Zhou Ruoming even more freedom. No one would see him do bad things, and that made him even more reckless. "I'm going to the flower-bird fish market at home. Our school is starting to plant trees again tomorrow. I'll go look for a sapling," Zhou Ruoming said. "Then wait for me at school. I'll be right there," Tiandi said. About 10 minutes later, Tiandi drove the BMW that Lin Yi had destroyed to the school. The appearance of the car annoyed Tiandi, but pissing off Lin Yi made him even more annoyed. Zhou Ruoming got in the car, and Tiandi asked impatiently, "You know Lin Yi?" "Of course I do. He slapped me a couple of times at school. He's my biggest enemy." Zhou Ruoming nodded. "I had my eyes on his girl, but who knew he was that strong?" Tiandi almost rolled his eyes at that. His whole family was Lin Yi's enemy, wasn't it? Tiandi felt the urge to cry. Chapter 428. Chapter 428, Catching a Couple of Thieves. It was also because of this that Tiandi had developed a temper. His son, Zhou Ruoguang, wouldn't be this cocky otherwise, even if he was the leader of the North District's gangsters. But today, he'd run into an iron plate like Lin Yi. His biggest support wasn't working. He's not just a match for him. Uncle Yin didn't even get to do anything, and Lin Yi sent him flying with 1 slap. That's an instant kill. Zhou Ruoming was terrified just thinking about it. It seemed that Lin Yi hadn't used his full strength when he'd slapped him. Otherwise, Uncle Yin would have been sent flying, and his own head would have been gone as well. Instant kill. Tiandi's lips twitched. He thought that Uncle Yin had been defeated after he fought Lin Yi, But now it seemed that Linny was far stronger than Faubert. Roaming, do you think we should buy some gifts and go visit Linny and apologize? Tiandi asked after some thought. That? I don't know, but I don't think that's possible right now. Zhou Ruoming shook his head. Linny's pissed right now. Wouldn't it be suicide if we went? We'll go apologize after things calm down a bit. That should be fine, right? That's true. Tiandi nodded. I'll see if I can use my connections to visit Uncle Yin and get a feel for Lin Yi's true strength. That works. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you'll win every battle. Zhou Ruoming made up an idiom. Win every battle, my ass. Even if you know how strong he is, we won't be able to win, unless we know someone stronger. Tiandi cursed. Just us? Don't even think about it for the rest of our lives. Man, I guess that's the only way. Aside from the fear, Zhou Ruoming wasn't willing to give up. Being bullied and having to endure it made him very uncomfortable. Tiandi parked the car in front of the market and got out with Zhou Ruoming. This market was opened by Zhou Tiandi, and with Zhou Ruoguang's men watching over the place, there wouldn't be any problems. The yearly rent alone was tens of millions, and it was a profitable business. Motherfucker, who parked their broken car in my exclusive parking space? Tiandi cursed with a frown. There weren't any signs of parking spaces in front of the entrance, but they'd still take up space when there were a lot of cars. However, there weren't many cars today, and this spot was occupied. Naturally, Tiandi wasn't happy about it. This was his exclusive parking spot every time he came here. It's just a broken piece of bread. Get someone to ask which business owner used this cart to transport goods. It needs to be cleaned up, right? Tell Ruoguang to find them some money tomorrow. Tiandi was pissed, so he vented his anger elsewhere. Zhou Ruoming got off the car and looked in the direction of his father's scolding. He almost stumbled and fell to the ground. He recognized that Mini. Wasn't that Lin Yi's car? Dad, stop. Please stop. Look at the license plate. Zhou Ruoming quickly stopped his father from cursing, afraid that Lin Yi would hear him. What's wrong with the license plate? What's so nice about a license plate? Tiandi didn't think much of it as he walked into the market with his big belly. It's Lin Yi's car. Zhou Ruoming said. Lin Yi's here at the market? What? Tiandi jumped in fright upon hearing that it was Lin Yi's car. Thank goodness he hadn't asked the security guards to tow the car away. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Tiandi broke out in a cold sweat as he turned to leave. Ruoming, let's go. Let's not stay here. Zhou Ruoming hesitated. He hadn't gotten his sapling yet, and it wasn't a coincidence that he'd run into Lin Yi, was it? Let's go to the office and come out after Lin Yi leaves. That works too. Tiandi nodded and walked into the market with Zhou Ruoming. The security guard at the entrance saw Tiandi and called out loudly. Mr. Zhou, don't make a sound. Don't shout. Tiandi was about to explode. What was he shouting for? What if Lin Yi heard him? The security guard paused, not understanding what was going on. Could it be that Tiandi had brought some people with him to visit the market incognito? To check on the situation in the market? Thinking of this, the security guard felt that it was very possible, so he quickly nodded. Okay, I won't say any more. Tiandi and Zhou Ruoming slipped into the manager's office like ghosts. The manager of the market, Xie Finpian, had just received a report from his security captain, saying that they'd caught a rich guy and two pretty girls. They'd investigated their backgrounds, and all they did was drive an old van. They couldn't be powerful people, and so Finpian prepared to go down and take advantage of them. Stealing a phone, so he'd just take off his clothes and search them. Finpian was more than willing to do that. Of course, he didn't dare do anything more than that, because he was afraid that something would go wrong. Searching a thief might be a bit overboard, but it wouldn't cause too much trouble. Finpian was just getting excited when he raised his head to see Tiandi and Zhou Ruoming barging in. He jumped. Did they know what he'd done? But, according to Finpian's understanding, Zhou Tiandi wasn't a good person, either. He was a troublemaker for the young girls in the company, and this was what they meant when they said that a crooked stick would have a crooked shadow. Tiandi's family, Zhou Ruoguang and Zhou Ruoming, as well as his underlings, weren't good people. Finpian was only acting so recklessly because of Zhou Ruoguang's indulgence. He was originally a gangster in the North District, and because Zhou Ruoguang thought highly of him, he became the manager of the market. Finpian wasn't afraid anymore when he remembered that Tiandi was the same type of person. Mr. Zhou, you're here. I have something good I wanted Guangbro to tell you. What is it? Tiandi paused. He wasn't feeling too good, and it'd make him feel better if he could rush it. The security department caught a couple of thieves, and there were some pretty girls among them. Mr. Zhou, do you want to search them? Finpian said lecherously. Oh, did you get a background check? Tiandi paused and asked. This was his hobby, after all. If there really was no problem, then he'd use the thieves to vent his anger. No background. They came in a broken van that looked like it came from a junkyard. There's no way they have any background, Finpian said. Chapter 429. Becoming an idiot, it's just a couple of thieves. What's wrong? Finpian paused, not understanding why Tiandi was acting like this. A couple of thieves? A man and a woman? Zhou Ruoming was surprised as well. A man and two women, Finpian said. A man and two women? Zhou Ruoming paused and looked at Tiandi, both sighing in relief. A man and two women, that should be fine. If it's Lin Yi, he should be with Tang Yun, not a man and two women. That scared the hell out of me. Tiandi patted his chest. I've been scared to the point of going crazy. That's right. I've been so paranoid all day. Zhou Ruoming was suddenly interested in the pretty girls Finpian was talking about, but he didn't dare say it out loud in front of his father. He could only look at Tiandi with a twinkle in his eyes. Come, let's go together. Tiandi, naturally, knew what kind of person his son was. He was as lecherous as he was, and so Tiandi decided to go together with his son. Hehe, let's go check it out then. Zhou Ruoming was overjoyed, but he put on a fearful expression. Finpian thought to himself that he'd lost a great opportunity to get close to Lin Yi, but that wasn't a big deal. He could use this opportunity to please the boss and the young master. Pretty girls weren't hard to find, after all, and he could find a lot of them with money. Wouldn't his money be rolling in if he treated the father and son well? Lin Yi followed the security captain to the security room because he didn't want to make a move in the market. There were too many people there, and Lin Yi wouldn't be able to use his powers. These guys had no choice but to resign themselves to fate in the security room. Bang! The security captain locked the door as soon as they entered the security room, pointing at Lin Yi like a brute. You guys, tell me, how did you steal this? Otherwise, I'll send you to the police station. It won't be as simple as it is now. Ha, you're with him? Lin Yi didn't think much of the barbarian's attitude as he looked at the captain. What are you talking about? He's the victim. Of course we have to uphold justice for him. The captain's face changed, but he still tried to argue. Ha, uphold justice? You think you're Ultraman or the leader of Wulin? Lin Yi smiled. Just tell me, what do you want? Meng Yao and Yushu, by now, understood that the security captain was in cahoots with the thief. But with Lin Yi there, they weren't afraid of anything. Meng Yao and Yushu had been through life and death situations with Lin Yi before. After all, this bit of danger was nothing compared to bank robbers and sharks. The two were even a little excited. They wanted to see it Lin. Don't even think about getting out after entering this door. Since you're not being honest, we'll beat you up first. The captain waved his hand at the other guards. Bring the girls into the room. Chairman Xie will search them later. This kid is not being honest, so beat him up first. Yes. Several security guards rubbed their fists and nodded in agreement. Isn't it against the law to beat people up here? Lin Yi looked at the captain. In here, I'm the law. The captain pointed at Lin Yi arrogantly. I'm not afraid to tell you that there are no cameras here. If you go out, no one will be able to prove that you were beaten up by us. We can just say that you fell down yourself. Ah, I see. That's what I was thinking. Lin Yi nodded with a smile. What do you mean? Are you stupid? The captain blinked, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. I'm not stupid, but you're about to be, Lin Yi said as he patted the captain's head. What the hell are you talking about? Hee hee. Haha. Hoo-hoo. The captain's eyes went blank all of a sudden as saliva dripped down from the corner of his mouth. He started laughing hysterically as he tried to catch the thief. 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 Shield bro, is he really stupid? Yushu cried out excitedly at the sight of the security captain turning into an idiot. This is fun. This is so fun. Shield bro, turn this guy into an idiot too. With that, Yushu pointed at the thief. Don't. The thief had seen Lin Yi's magic before, and he was scared out of his wits. He had never seen someone turn a person into an idiot with just 2 pats. He was a monster from the legends. This kid knows sorcery. Catch him. The other guards were scared as well, who had ever seen someone turn a person into an idiot with just a few moves. But, while there were people shouting for Lin Yi, no one dared to step forward. They were all afraid of becoming Lin Yi's next target. Not only did no one step forward, but they were also backing away. Plop. The thief dropped to his knees when he saw Lin Yi walking over. Bro, master, ancestor. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have stolen the phone. I'll return it to you now. With that, the thief took out Meng Yao's phone and placed it on the ground, crying with snot and tears all over his face. I'm just a small fry up front. Guangbro told us to cooperate and steal things, to cheat the customers. Lin Yi picked up the phone and handed it back to Meng Yao before the tears and snot dripped down. He then looked at the thief. Guangbro? What Guangbro? What does Guangbro do? Brother Guang is Zhou Ruoguang, the boss of the North District. This flower, bird, and fish market is also owned by his family. The thief said whatever was on his mind. He was afraid of becoming an idiot, so he naturally did not dare to hide anything. Oh, Zhou Ruoguang? Lin Yi blinked, not expecting it to be Zhou Ruoguang again. Now he was at loggerheads with his family. Call him. Tell him to come here in 10 minutes, or I'll tear this place down. Aye. All right, I'll make the call now. The thief was a little afraid of Zhou Ruoguang, but he was more afraid of Lin Yi right now. Zhou Ruoguang could only beat him half to death, but Lin Yi could make him wish he was dead. But, just as Lin Yi was talking to the thief, a security guard standing not too far away suddenly went berserk. He held a sharp knife in his hand as he approached Meng Yao. He wanted to use Meng Yao as a hostage to force Lin Yi to leave. He didn't feel safe with Lin Yi standing there. Since Lin Yi had already turned one person into an idiot, a few more wouldn't make a difference. Chapter 430. Turn into a few more, man. I didn't want to create too much food-wasting trash, but you could have just stood there and waited for Zhou Ruoguang to come and everything would have been fine. Why bother? Lin Yi looked at the guard sympathetically. Oh, a new idiot is born. Yushu waved her fist. Shield bro, turn into a few more? 2 is too few? The other guards and thieves sweated as they listened. Why was this girl so cruel? Did she like seeing people turn into idiots? Gotcha. The door opened with a creak, and Xie Finpian's eyes lit up when he saw Meng Yao and Yushu in the room. Such a beautiful girl. It's really a waste. If only Zhou Tiandi hadn't come today. Hee hee. Ha ha. Heh. Catch the thief. The security captain grabbed at Finpian like a maniac, drooling from the inside. What are you doing? Finpian jumped. Have you never seen a woman before? Even if these 2 girls are pretty, you don't have to be this infatuated, do you? You're drooling. Don't you think that's disgusting? Mr. Zhou's here. Stand properly. Finpian was pissed off. The security captain wasn't usually like this. What was wrong with him today? He had to make a fool out of himself in front of Tiandi, wasn't he? Mr. Zhou? Zhou Ruoguang's here? Lin Yi looked at Finpian. Finpian evidently hadn't figured out what was going on in the room yet, not knowing that Lin Yi had the upper hand. You know Guangbro? That's no use. It's Guangbro's father who came today. If you know what's good for you, you'd better shut up, or else. Heh. Slap. Finpian didn't even get to finish before Lin Yi slapped him in the face. His ear started to bleed, and he fell to the ground, unconscious. Lin Yi was losing his patience. These Zhous didn't know what death was like, did they? Why were there so many idiots being sent to him one after another? Zhou Tiandi and Zhou Ruoming were dumbfounded when they heard the slaps and screams, especially when they heard Lin Yi's voice. The two of them stood at the door of the security room, not knowing whether to go in or not. They didn't know what to do. But even if they didn't come in, Lin Yi could still see them. He smiled coldly. Zhou Tiandi, Zhou Ruoming, come in. Tiandi and Zhou Ruoming looked at each other and forced themselves to walk into the security room. They wanted to kill the security captain right now. Of all the people he shouldn't mess with, why did he have to mess with Lin Yi? But wasn't Lin Yi with Tang Yun? Zhou Ruoming, however, saw Ming Yao and Yu Shu. I say, Zhou Tiandi, haven't you had enough of going against me? Lin Yi knew that today's incident had nothing to do with Tiandi, but if Tiandi still wanted to use these small security guards after losing a golden class master, then he'd have to be an idiot. So, it could only be said that it was a coincidence. Still, Lin Yi was quite annoyed. Why did Tiandi's family always have to make things difficult for him? No, Boss Lin, you've misunderstood. Tiandi's face paled. Boss Lin, that wasn't what I meant. I didn't know. Right, it was that Xiafinpian. He was the one who said he caught a couple of thieves for me to take a look at, right, Ruoming? Lin Yi nodded. Yes. Zhou Ruoming was scared out of his wits as he nodded. We didn't come to flirt with pretty girls. Tiandi almost exploded at his son's words. Wasn't this just showing that he wasn't hiding something? He really wanted to send him flying with a kick. You idiot. What are you talking about? We're here to handle a theft case, and we're here to make sure it's fair and just. Yes. Boss Lin, this really has nothing to do with us. Ruoming quickly corrected himself. Boss Lin, this really has nothing to do with us. All right, I don't have time to waste with you guys. Load the 3 saplings, and you two can leave. But don't mess with me next time, or I'll burn your house down. Lin Yi waved his hand impatiently. That's it for today. If you want to tell others, then do what you want. Zhou Ruoming paused. How could he just tell others? Wouldn't he be crazy if he told others about something like this? But he understood what Lin Yi was getting at. He was probably talking about seeing him with Ming Yao and Yu Shu. But what did Lin Yi have to do with Ming Yao and Yu Shu? They didn't say anything about that at school, did they? As confused as he was, Zhou Ruoming didn't dare ask. He and his father quickly went out to get the saplings after Lin Yi asked for them. Give me 3 saplings. Tiandi found a shop that sold saplings and asked the owner, how much? The shop owner saw that it was a big shot from the market asking for saplings. Why would he take money? He quickly brought the saplings over with a smile. Why do you need money? It's not that much. Just bring it over if you want to use it. I'll give you the money. Here's 100 kuai. Is that enough? Tiandi took out 100 kuai from his wallet and handed it to the owner. I don't need that much. The saplings are cheap, just a few kuai each. The owner quickly waved his hand. Tiandi didn't have the time to waste with him. He threw the money down and grabbed the saplings before walking out. I'll get a worker to carry it for you? The owner asked kindly, seeing that Tiandi was doing it himself. It's fine. Tiandi refused decisively. He had to carry the saplings himself to show his sincerity. What if he got a worker and Lin Yi picked on him again? Plus, the saplings weren't heavy at all. He put the saplings in the car and carefully stood beside it, smiling. Boss Lin Yi, is there anything else you need? Nope. Right. I turned 2 of your security guards into idiots. Is that okay? Lin Yi looked at Tiandi. They won't ask me for medical fees, will they? No, they won't. Don't worry. Tiandi jumped. Turning people into idiots? What kind of technique was that? No wonder that security captain was acting so strangely. He thought he was a love-struck fool, but it turned out that he was an idiot. They fell and became idiots themselves. We'll compensate them according to the standard for work-related injuries. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.